What's up, people? Sports Gives number 94, 94. I'm Francisco, joined by my bud Charles. Here, it's a duo again today. Andrew went through a horrendous ordeal again, and he's not. I think he's still got a pulse because we did receive a message from him at least that he is still alive, but I don't think he's coming in for this week. Oh well, he'll be back. He'll be back next week. He'll be 100% again and be able to live his life, unless he's gonna go on that gigantic world tour that he was planning. Not sure.
To give ideas, World Tour is what? Central Florida.
Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe he can call in while he's sitting poolside someplace with a virgin strawberry daiquiri or something. 'Cause, he doesn't drink alcohol.
Yeah,
So
as he's outside looking at the UCF Knights Stadium
yeah.
with drawing a heart shape of his finger because, he's not here so we can attack the Orlando fan base a little bit for another week at least.
Oh, he's gonna come back with a vengeance against us.
Oh my God, that's gonna
I
be
feel like
terrible.
he's been hearing this for the last 3 weeks, so that's gonna be great. All right. Sports over the last week. What did we watch? And I gotta tell you, I told Charles already. I'm gonna tell everybody else. I was lazy with regards to watching sports. I was real lazy. I didn't even watch the Panthers. That's how lazy I was. I was just looking at the score from my phone while I was rewatching Community because I haven't rewatched the show in forever. Or I haven't, yeah. So the episodes are semi-fresh to me now. Like, oh man, like, all the jokes hit me again. So that's what I've been doing. I only saw really one NBA game, the Heat versus the Warriors, which supremely disappointed us. That was the one that we both were watching it, Charles. It was one of those late
We were
night
so
games.
happy.
And
We were so happy.
yeah,
And then poof.
yeah,
What happened?
yeah.
I went to sleep.
Yeah.
I was like, this is a good night's sleep.
You,
And then I wake up to some bull.
he
And I'm like,
sends me the
okay.
message. Yeah, I'm gonna head to bed. I'm like, okay, and I just stood up, and then like, yeah, you sent the text like, what happened? I'm like, the same thing that always happens. The Heat fail to close at the end.
This is why I hate West Coast games, man. I don't understand how people who could be literally fans of anything when you think of it for if you're on the East Coast, living the East Coast as a West Coast fan, because here I am all happy. And then I go to bed. I'm like, we lost, and these games are starting to matter now, folks. I would feel like the kid who's like, "Oh, my hamster's all good." And I wake up the next day, it's like, my hamster's dead. What the fuck? What
Yeah,
the hell,
yeah,
man?
yeah. Oh yeah,
But it's
no,
been a good week for the Heat, though.
yeah, no,
The
they
last couple of games
was
played,
it.
but we could have had that win.
Yeah. Oh no, that was in the bag. They beat the Lakers. That I saw the end of that game. I didn't see the rest. Like the first, I only saw the last really 2 minutes of that game. And
I watched all of
they
it. It
almost
was
blew
good.
that one too. So
Yeah, well, I don't know.
I mean, it was partly LeBron doing LeBron things with that steal, but it was close. That was one of those like, oh, here we go again. They're gonna send it to overtime, and then we lose because we're gassed by that point. But
Thankfully, no Anthony Davis, but
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no Anthony Davis. Well, he keep losing to teams that are not 100%, which also concerns me a bit. A bit.
well, we're not necessarily 100% either.
I know. Yeah, yeah. I'm still trying not to get into the panic. Heat Twitter. Heat Twitter is just ridiculous. People are always hitting the panic button. Fire Spo, Fire Spo. That's always the
Come
number
on,
one
man.
mantra.
Like, you can never fire Spo. If Rick Carlo gets absolution, he gets absolution. That sense.
So
They have a unwritten check.
I'm looking at. I just opened up the NBA app right now. I did not know that there was going to be a play-in round for the playoffs between the 7 through 10 teams.
Yeah,
For
so
the
I
two
mean, we could
spots.
still suck
Yeah,
and
and
make
it's
something beautiful happen.
at the moment it's the Heat at number 10, which is, I mean, God, man, they're 14 and 17. They played a lot of games. Then the Hornets at number 9, the Bulls at 8, and the Knicks at 7. And there's not a lot of. I mean, the thing is, like we're panicking, but the Heat could just go on a run, and it's not, and they'll instantly be the number 4 seed because
But we,
the Pacers at 15 and 14. And sorry, Brendan, but the Heat win like 3 games in a row, and the Pacers stumble a bit. All of a sudden, they're 4th in the conference. And I was like, okay, it's not really panic time, you know.
I mean, we are also not at full health either. So I feel like we don't have that potential to actually know how good, bad of a team we are.
Mm.
Um, because it's literally rotating over. We'll have a guy there playing one game, and then they're not there the other. Tyler, Goran, and then there's some days it's Gabe Vincent, and then some days just Max Struss.
Mm-hmm.
And my heart breaking here because I kind of feel like it feels like that big climactic battle in a war, and you don't know you have your boys who are on their own separate thing. You just get some peasants, and you're like, all right, you never held a sword before. We're gonna go fight some people. Let's do it. And some of them are working. Struss is kind of improving, even though he went like 3 for 12 last night. But that happens because when that's all you have, that's all you have.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't so much concerned about. I actually think the Heat one was great, despite close to blowing it, because there's a difference between blowing it and then coming close to blowing it, but you still get the win because that still is a well put team. They don't have Anthony Davis, but what do you freaking do? I don't care, right?
Yeah.
But you still have LeBron. You still have better teams. You still have better players on that team than what I think we face in the finals. I'm a hold to that because Dennis Schroeder is still leagues ahead of Rajon Rondo when they were going against each other. Kuzma's still there, so he's not great, but he's still very good in my eyes. So it was an impressive win, but the problem is that what kind of team do you want to be? Do you want to be the team that's just going to exhaust everybody and still lose, or do you want to be the team that's going to pummel on some people and win? Because I know what I'm about.
Yeah.
And then now there's some traction of releases and trades. I guess we're going to Little Heat Love for a second.
Yeah.
Blake Griffin.
Let's go to the NBA. We didn't talk about it last week at all, so let's go with it. Let's go with the. Well, there's Boogie Cousins. He's out there now. And people have been showing videos of Jimmy Butler talking about how much he likes Boogie Cousins and stuff. They got the same type of attitude in some sense, but of course there's the injury history. And that's
gonna be I told you he's gonna pop his knees the minute he comes on, and he's actually playing decently behind Christian Woods. He's averaging about 9 points a game. He just doesn't want to play as a reserve, and I get that, but you have to also kind of be healthy in order to get more playing time. And part of the reason why you went to Houston is because you were a cheap contract and you could actually bring some fan base because there's still people who have traction for being a Boogie guy.
Yeah. Or, well, if he could come to the Heat, also have some pretty good medical staff, maybe. They find a way to work him in there. Heck, Greg Oden was here.
I mean, if
we found a way to resurrect that man for a little bit.
But think on this: if you placed him, him and Bam could play, but they couldn't play big minutes together because I think there's still a small thing. But I have no problem with Boogie replacing Kelly Olynyk because I've been tracking it, and every time Olynyk is kind of just shooting those wide threes that he shouldn't be shooting, and he goes 4 of 11, we lose. The guy's 7 foot. It's just he's not a very athletic, tall man, whereas Boogie is. So that's where if you're gonna start your starting 5 to have possibly Boogie replace Olynyk, and then they could just interchange and bring back because sometimes Olynyk and Bam do play well, and then sometimes it's a lack of reliable shooters.
So,
and I just kind of want to see what the lob would be. I want to see what we can do with Goran just kicking out to Boogie, who has still a decent mid-stroke, man. I want to see what happens of it.
Yeah, I mean, Kelly hasn't been doing so hot this year. He's been on and off. Some people have been, now they're really like honing in on what the heck is wrong with him in some nights. And I think Will Manso was talking about how it seems like when Kelly's doing bad, he's fading away on his shots. Whereas when he's just kind of has a nice straight jump, nice full follow through there. He seems to land his shots after that. So it may just be some bad habit that's turned up a bit. That if they can just kind of,
he was always kind of like that though, even in Boston.
uh,
And mind you, I think Kelly is a perfect second unit guy,
mm-hmm.
but he's got to be one of those starters on a team that doesn't really fully play starter minutes. And you've seen that. It's just time to adapt to it. I would say 20 to 25 minutes, sure. Especially if you get, I mean, I still want, Griffin because for some reason, it's just one of those things where I know he's shooting like 36%. I know he's not in the best, fantastic shape anymore to be doing lobs, but it just feels. And Jeremy Taché, one of our guys who's been on here before, follow his podcast, Swinging and Mishes, and Jeremy Taché, he's also doing stuff for Fox Sports. Great guy. We love hearing him and reading his stuff. I think he would agree with me where it's just like you just feel like if you put him in the right change of scenery, kind of like Randy Moss from Oakland to New England, it's a different kind of culture feeling, and maybe something comes of it. Granted, Blake's going to want to play those big adult minutes, right? And
maybe, but I feel like
but he's not going to take a salary reduction either.
Well, yeah, it depends. If he's willing, and that's part of the thing with the Miami Heat, you kind of have to be willing to be a part of the culture. Yeah. I think they can convince him. I'm sure once he gets in there, because he's going to come here and he's going to know it's not his team. It's Jimmy. It's Jimmy Butler and
it's Goran's team.
Yeah, well, Jimmy loves Goran. It's the reason Goran came back. So it's a culture thing, and it's Jimmy's team, and it's even not really Jimmy's team because he doesn't have to be the guy, but he's obviously the kind of spiritual leader because he embodies.
I mean, end of the day, it's Spo's team.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to put it down like that because there's never been a player whose identity is bigger than Spo. Even the big three are. I'm gonna say right now.
Yeah, his LeBron whole thing wanted was him fired. Managing. LeBron wanted him fired, but Pat Riley was like, no.
And that says something because I can only name 3 coaches I think that are bigger than a team, and they both happen to come from. I would definitely say Rick Carlisle is bigger than his team. Why? He's got like 12 years on that team, and Luka's going to be there for a while. Porzingis ain't going to be there next year. I think it's fair to say. And then Popovich, of course, is the bigger than the team. He is the seminal bigger than team name. And Spo and Pop come from the same mindset of culture. And it's so weird because it's tough to kind of say, like in football, it definitely doesn't exist in baseball, but in football, you definitely know the people from the learning branch of their coaches, Andy Reid and Doug Peterson, Peterson learning on him, all these other coaches who go on to do things. Anybody from the Jim Walsh eras for the 49ers, God, we actually know stuff about sports looking at that and how they have those, or Bill Parcells and how the people who follow up under him. In basketball, you really don't, but I find it amusing that you have Spo and Pop, who I think kind of instill the same thing. Give me good vets, hard defense, smart plays, no turnovers, and best shots. I don't think they learned under each other, or Spo definitely didn't learn under it. It was always Pat. Pat had a very different dynamic way of teaching than Big Papa over there in San. Who is actually they're doing pretty good this year.
They're 16 and 11.
Anybody on that team?
The Spurs are 16 and 11. It's not. I mean, they're not going to be a bad team. So
no, but I can't name you anybody on that team. DeJounte Murray and
DeRozan. He's still there.
Oh, is DeRozan still?
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah, of course.
Underrated. That's right. He is there. Underrated, I will say that at 32, and I just always feel bad for him. But he was a guy that I would have eyed if the price was right. But the problem is he doesn't have that closer mentality, and I know it's hard. That's not a statistic that you really follow. That could be proven, but because case in point, look how it turned around in Toronto by getting one guy. Well, on paper, Kawhi and him are almost the same person, except for the defensive ability and the shot selection.
Yeah.
But Heat-wise, it's Pop's team. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's Spo's team, really. Maybe I want Popovich. Just fire Spo, give me Popovich. Sure. He would hate Miami. I think Popovich would be like, you have milk here?
There's no way. No, Pop's going to retire in San Antonio. That's not going to
he's going to.
And Spo's going to. I don't know what Spo's aspirations are with regards to. I don't know if he wants to be like Pat Riley and have his hands both in the executive suite and down on the floor, but
I don't think he's as personable to free agents the way Pat was.
yeah,
Because Pat's the guy that if you came in, he just show you the rings and you get it. And he has
yeah,
built winning teams on all spectrums. And it's such night and day with Pat as the executive. We don't count the first time. I won't count it because he made the moves. He fired, Stan Van Gundy, and he was like, hey, I'm in now. We look at how he was able to bring in that first wave of championship appearances with the big three because everybody was bros, and he capitalized. And he says, "We're not dicks here compared to what you were doing in Cleveland and what you were doing in Toronto."
mm-hmm.
And then the second championship appearance of the Pat Riley Spo era that wasn't with the big three was last year, and it was just a bunch of dudes. But it's just a bunch of dudes who we want them to be here to be here. And if you earn your paycheck, you're gonna get rewarded when it comes from a new contract. Look at Goran, you look at Jimmy, you look at Bam himself in 3 years of playtime. So it was like a different mesh of mentality. The first go was more flash. The second go was more dedication and tenacity. But I don't think that's in Spo because Spo's a guy you want to work for. Spo's a guy is not a guy that you want to chill around. I think, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know personally. He's probably actually great, and he seems very involved. He doesn't seem fake, right? I think I want to say that because there's some coaches, and I'll give one because we mentioned Jimmy, Brett Brown of the 76ers, who I'll tell you right now, I think he should have another coaching opportunity because when he actually had a real team built to succeed, and we're not going to count last year's 76ers team because they're frauds, he was able to do something great with it. But what was it? He crossed Jimmy on the wrong way because it wasn't Jimmy Butler, it was James Butler. And anybody who's heard the show, when I call him James, it's kind of like a jab to Brett Brown and the 76ers. Why? Because the one thing we know about my ass is I'm petty, and I always jab on the 76ers.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, if anything, Spo would be that guy who is more of like scouting. I think he would be perfect for that as like some kind, not like a scout, but whoever oversees that portion. If we're going to take him to a front office, because he knows how to play minutes, hands down. No one knew who Max Strauss was. No one knows who Vincent is. No one knew who Duncan Robinson was a couple of years back, right? And it might have been Heat familiarity in the past to just get a vet who's kind of popped his knees out a little bit and just give him an opportunity, not some guy who was undrafted in his first full year as a pro, kind of doing things going through the G League, and then poof, Duncan Robinson, who's probably going to get paid handsomely, probably a little overpaid, but I don't think even though agents, we want to get the most amount of money for our clients, I think they kind of know where he stands. Because do you honestly think Duncan Robinson would be starting anywhere else in the league? I can maybe name like two teams.
Yeah.
He'll definitely be a second unit guy, and that's what sometimes happens. But Spo being something with scout or an advisor, or even in a Jerry West role, why not? Whatever the hell Jerry did to be an advisor for all those Laker championships in Golden State. And I think it was probably player personnel.
Yeah. I mean, Jerry West basically is a consultant on talent. He just has an eye for it. So that's probably, I could see Spo doing that and not really. Well, Shane Battier's still at the Heat, I think. So I think he was one of those guys that was up there because he was in player development. So I don't, and it seemed like he was more up there. Because, I see Zoe there with the Heat, but I don't think Zoe is more, from what I don't know. I'm not sure, but it seems like he's just like a special advisor type of guy,
I think he would follow Jawan in the idea of trying to go and take their chances in college basketball, which is a sport that's very open to getting former players as coaches compared to the NCAA football aspect of it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I could just see it because you have to think about it this way. Even though you get a lot of former players as coaches, they're usually point guards. And that's how you got like Doc Rivers involved, Alvin Gentry, and a few other people. But Patrick Ewing couldn't get a job for the life of him. Gun to your head as you're an owner. They wouldn't hire Patrick Ewing for whatever reason. He was the assistant coach in Orlando. He followed Stan Van Gundy around, and then he went to Georgetown.
So Shane Battier, let's see, sorry. I just want to see what his official capacity is with the Heat. He is the director of basketball development and analytics. This guy's a numbers guy.
All right, so scouting
Mm-hmm.
for all intents and
Yeah, but
purposes.
that still translates to GM, especially if you want to go into the future of analytics and stuff like that. And he's played the game too, so he's
And I like that as a step up because some of them, LeBron wants to be an owner and then everything else, but sometimes it's not feasible for a lot of players who are very smart and who have high basketball IQ. Because I would say that if you have high basketball IQ, you can translate to coaching well, and you can translate into front office possibly. That it's a big question mark because if you're a GM,
well,
is your role in contract negotiations? Because sometimes it's really reserved for the vice president, if
yeah.
anything, or the president itself. It depends on what's defined there.
Well, let's see. I mean, well, let's see.
Let's have fun with it
We
because
got
this is
Jason Kidd,
here's the thing.
who coached, and he's still an assistant with the Lakers. That's
Oh,
a
he's
guy with
still
a
around.
massive high IQ. Yeah, he got a ring last year with the
My
Lakers. So he's
goodness.
on Frank Vogel's. That was one of those like, oh, if LeBron, wanted to get Vogel fired, you instantly have a backup right there in Jason Kidd.
I forgot about it because Vogel, everybody, and this is the one thing about the NBA community. People forget how good coaches can be. You cannot count. I would definitely say you should not count Frank Vogel's run in Orlando because that was a
It's
farce because
some
that team was just churning out Alfred Payton, man.
yeah,
That is not a team.
yeah. Some coaches, it really, some coaches aren't meant to develop. They're just not. They're not meant to develop players. But the thing is, it's also what was he given? Was he given crap to develop because he had his stint with Indiana, and he had a young Paul George, he had Roy Hibbert on
Roy
that team,
Hibbert, he
and
knew how to
then
utilize Roy
yeah,
Hibbert.
yeah. Then you had you had Lance Stevenson, obviously, but that was when those guys were young, and then the old guy was what, David
And they
West,
pushed the Heat hard, man.
and then Danny Granger. Yeah,
Hmm.
those were the old heads, I guess,
Some
on those
players we remember
Pacers squad.
forget right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then Granger popped up in Miami for like I don't know how many games at the
A
end of his
half a
career.
second, baby.
Yeah. So yeah, you got some guys with high IQs. Steve Nash now is a coach. Of course, he's a guy with a high IQ in basketball IQ. Of course, he got the job right away.
But the thing is, they're all what position? Point guards.
Yeah, it makes
Interesting to
sense. Yeah,
me.
it's like catchers in baseball. Guys who have to kind of see everything in order to understand everything. Yeah, catchers in baseball. It's point guards in basketball. That makes sense. And yeah. So let's see. But Shane Battier was always known as having a high IQ. Always a great defensive player. So that makes sense for
Which I
him.
think you kind of want because coaching offenses, I never get like drawing a specific thing and coaching offense on it in that sense, unless you're talking about that final play, which is a cut, or you're just going to kind of zag out and go for a three. Coaching defense is what I really say is the big one right there,
Yeah.
because it's just something that you don't get often, and it matters. And that's where who was it that was hired as the defensive coach? There was some. You see that sometimes in basketball where certain coaches like I suck at this, so this person is going to be hired as an advisor to it, but they don't call it like the assistant coach
Well,
because that's already a different thing.
I remember when he had Brendan on the show, Pacers writer, when he was on the show and he was talking about Nate McMillan, how Nate McMillan knew how to coach defense, he just couldn't get a decent offense out of the Pacers. So you have coaches that are the opposite. Who you can have the guys who run and gun like Mike D'Antoni. He knows how to coach offense, that's for sure. But defense, ooh, and defense is when it matters in the playoffs. But yeah, Nate McMillan was one of those guys that couldn't coach offense. He was great defensive teams for the Pacers, young Pacers team too. So, where were we? I was looking up.
We went far off into it,
Oh no,
but
we were going into the NBA. That was the whole point of starting with that. We just kind of shifted from the intro into the actual segment there of NBA talk. So I just
whereas
want
I'm
to.
taking a peek at I'm taking a peek at stat leaders as you're looking at some stuff because there are some names. If you told me Bradley Beal was leading it, I knew he was going to score a lot because he really is your only guy. And Russ just likes to do a little bit of everything. But 32.9 points a game is freaking ridiculous, man. That's high end level. And I knew he beat Jordan for like most consecutive 25 points or tied the record. But man, get him the hell out of Washington. Even with that bad contract, it's just he at least is showing that production. What else can you do? Because he's leading over on other people. And if it wasn't for him, you're looking at Embiid at 30. And listen, I'm going to deviate this to my 76ers are the fraud because I've been holding on this for 2 weeks. They're frauds. And you want to know why they're frauds? Because they have a fraud coach. They have an excellent coach in Doc Rivers, and he is excellent from start to finish in the regular season. The man is impeccable. The man is literally, if you had to get paint from Home Depot and it was the color that you needed specifically for your room, he is that guy. Oh, you want brown, you want puce, you want offset white, you want sky blue. It is exactly what you imagine. He is the imaginary to the reality. He becomes a distortion and a knockoff Walmart paint the minute it goes in the playoffs. And I won't say he wasted the careers of DeAndre Jordan, Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, everybody else, his own kid. I won't say he wasted it in the playoffs. All I'm saying is they got to go to Cancun and be on the banana boat a little bit earlier than expected. And that was something when Steve Ballmer, who invested more than what the market price for the Clippers was, because it was the highest purchase at the time, it still might be, for a sports team, when he invested close to $1 billion.
Maybe the Mets just passed that right now with Stephen
Possibly
with that one. I mean, by the way, yeah, we're talking about billions here.
And Doc Rivers is a great leader. He dealt with the Donald Sterling situation impeccably well. He was able to be a leader for young men, but he couldn't necessarily get the production out there. The only memorable win that I recall in his entire coverage of being a coach for the LA Clippers when Chris Paul basically died, or didn't die, but lost a freaking leg trying to beat the San Antonio Spurs in the first round. I think that was 2013 or 2014.
Yeah, somewhere around that. Yeah.
If I have to go 7 years back for remembrance of things, that says something. Oh, I know what you're going to say. Charles, he's got an NBA ring. Okay. A lot of people do. But in the NBA, great coaches are qualified by multiple rings. Yeah, multiple.
Yeah, I mean, that was a well put together Celtics team. Remember, this was KG going for his best shot of his life. The best shot of his life at an NBA ring. So you have to factor that into what happened that year. Him and Ray Allen and Paul Pierce, all three guys just, toiling alone, and then they finally get it together. It's like, okay, we don't have a big window here.
They pooped the bed in 2010 on the rematch against the Lakers. They had it. It was Game 7.
Yeah, 7 games.
They had the lead, and there was just I remember the game because I put money on it.
Or was that 2008 where they pooped? Not sure.
No, because I think they won 2007. Well, Paul Pierce just poops all the time.
2008 was when they won. 2007, 2008 was the window between 2008 and 2012 with that, or 2013 with that Celtics squad. So.
And he couldn't really do anything against us even. I mean, they're hard contested games, and they should be hard contested games. But you know who only talks about how hard their team played and they lost? The fan base of the losing team. Plain and simple. Straight up. And you know what you're getting. So it is expected of a Doc Rivers team to be leading these.
So we're just waiting for the inevitable come playoff time. For the Sixers.
I mean, but here's what I'm going to love the most. They, on paper, looking at the standings, and listen, I am wrong about less. The humble pie is coming, because I remember the things I said in the beginning of the season. I said Toronto looked dead in the water. They're now placed in 5th. I said Phoenix was going to be trash because I don't believe in Devin Booker, and they're 20-10 at their 4th rate. I'm going to eat that humble pie, kids. Don't worry. Why? Because Sometimes you want to eat sweets, but sometimes you eat your veggies because they're good for you. A little bit of humble pie is good for me. And I still don't believe in Devin Booker because he's really all I got. But whatever, fine. I'll acknowledge it. But there's a strong possibility that those 76ers are going to go to the finals if things play out. And I still believe they lose because it's who you have at the top. And it's
You know, it'd
weird
be
to say
bad
the
for them.
word.
I could see this is just me dipping back into NBA history. But I could see them at number one. I could see the Heat
Oh,
toiling right now. You know, not
San
really.
Antonio Memphis vibes.
Or no, I'm talking about Heat versus Knicks. When the Knicks made the finals in '99, that run, and the Knicks were number 8 seed, and they faced off against the Heat, who were number one. Even though the Knicks, talent wise, wasn't a number 8 seed, but they were only number 8 because they were dealing with injuries and things like that. And then they got healthy at the right time. They got healthy at the right time and just kind of they beat the Heat, and then they made it all the way to the finals, and then they lost to the Spurs. I could see the Heat doing that. I could see the Heat kind of like, okay, let's just wade in the waters for now. It's gonna
Well, people
float
for
about a little bit, maybe, but with this tournament, maybe not. I'm not sure because I
anything can
can't really see
happen.
the Heat finishing at 8 from a realistic standpoint, but
But it's too early to even talk about 5 through 10, man, because it's all within an arm's reach, you know?
or no, yeah, I mean, because the Pacers are 15 and 14, and they're only 2 games ahead of the Heat, so we're not even. And even then, the let's see, the number 1 seeds, the Heat are only 6 games back of the Sixers, and they're playing 72 games.
Yeah.
That's not even one mediocre run for the Sixers, which can happen, especially with a Doc Rivers team. And the Heat
Hear
get
me out.
on a little run for like a couple
One
weeks, and suddenly they're right
one
there.
mediocre thing for not just, the 76ers, um, Milwaukee. Milwaukee does not look good. Like they got 18-13, but this was the team that was just God based, right? So I don't want to shift gears, but I'm with you on that too. And at the end of the day, NBA is about matchups. You do get some upsets, not like hockey, but it can happen. Or it's the team that you don't want to play, right?
Yeah, or
So
the team
it's
that
just
team that
interesting.
matches up well against you.
And right now, I'm gonna say it now, and everybody's gonna say it's a fanboyism, but you guys have to also understand we can be both critical of our teams and objective. But I don't think there's the biggest gap of talent between Embiid and Bam at this point, because Bam, you know that there's still going to be some
He's
production to
still
develop.
23 years old, so
I
it's not
think
even.
we,
He's not. This isn't even his final form, like a Dragon Ball Z
yeah,
villain.
for Embiid, even though he's 30 points and 11 rebounds, there's nothing really else he can do because it's not like he's going to line up to shoot a lot of those 3 pointers. He's only going for like three a game. Bam still go. So if it's a few points more, then it goes down to defensive players. And here's the thing you got to know about great defensive players. The best defensive player is the one who just doesn't get fouled out. So if we switch that game to having Bam being more posting up, getting Embiid to kind of just whack him, now we're talking about mental development. Because listen, Bam's not supposed to be a 30-point per game guy. Right now he's averaging 19 points, right? How I'm seeing it. And some people are saying, well, Charles, you're telling me that Embiid has 30 and 19. You're like 11-point differential. And I get it. But one, what's the first thing we know? People play hard in the playoffs. That's the first thing. So that's why you see a lot of deflation in the numbers during the season. And then two, you're going to compare 11 points a game between two teams who have been max contract value guys, right? It is not as if we're doing a playoff comparison of point guards matching up, and I'll keep it to the West because the first thing that popped to mind: a Steph Curry versus a Lonzo Ball.
Uh-huh.
That is a skill set that's vastly different, an offensive skill set that's vastly different. Um, I'll say right now, Lonzo's a better distributor, playing simple, but also as part of the talent that's out there. He's also a better rebounder, but sometimes those stats don't matter when it's a one-on-one matchup. And that's the thing I never understood in baseball. We're like, oh, these two pitchers are starting against each other. They don't connect, man. Like, what are you talking about? Same thing with football, unless you're the NL, but hopefully they'll abolish that. And same thing with quarterbacks. It's Tom Brady versus Pat Mahomes. They're not playing each other. They don't play defense. But in the NBA, it's a two-way street. But tell me honestly, there's a gap between Bam and Embiid. It is not a wide gap, and it's not something I would necessarily be concerned about. And maybe I'm just stroking myself because I hate the 76ers. But bring it all back to Doc, and I know I've stolen a lot of your time, but it's bound to happen because you not have once or two attempts, you've had three. And I think what Philly and the establishment wants, does Philly really want championships, or do they just always want to be in the publicity? Because publicity is good for a team. Because to always be in a perennial contender, at least for the East, means maybe more high profile games in TNT, ABC, ESPN, those commercial details. Maybe you get those
from I guess a justification standpoint. They have to be competitive because they went through all those years of the process.
Precisely. Without a face of the franchise.
They have to have a competitive team in order to justify all of that losing. And they desperately want a championship because then it would be the ultimate justification. Like, oh, you see? The last decade was all worth it.
And you need a money mover because even Minnesota, which rightfully fired Brian Sanders, I didn't think he was the right guy to hire. Nice guy, but there was ineptitude all around. Do I like the fact they already knew the guy to get in Finch or whatever his name is? I don't blame them for just throwing away the season. Just get your staff in, but it's kind of tough to fire somebody, bring a new boss, and have the directors there or the assistants there. I'm thinking of my job, but having the assistants there and tell them to follow the lead. So that's a little awkward. But I can tell you, though, take it what it is for the Timberwolves, you have a face of the franchise in Karl-Anthony Towns. I don't think D'Angelo's a face of the franchise. Great player, or close to great player, but been bounced around too much that no one wants to hold on to.
Even on winning teams. Yeah.
But even for the team that's going to have, and Timberwolves have been bad for years, like the last three. Once Tibbs left, it was out. But you knew who the face of the franchise was because you need a face of the franchise to move the merch. And what was the face of the franchise in the 76ers? Michael Carter-Williams. And that was for 2 years, and he was out.
Yeah.
And then Embiid's only really been playing real-time stuff for 3 years when you think about it because he's out for those first 2 years. And then Ben Simmons, you know my feelings on it. I like Ben Simmons' style of being a distributor because it's a callback, but Ben Simmons is a handicap in a negative way for your team if he can't take the last shot. A lot of his stuff is straight to a drive. And here's the thing about playoffs. People learn how to plant their feet and take the charge. It happens so much. You've seen it. And sometimes there's also those no calls either. So you're going to put him on the free throw line? And he has not made the gradual improvements. Is it time to do my favorite? And like I said, with all honesty, Ben Simmons is probably the final form of the DACA. Andre, I forgot his last name. Damn it, you know who I'm talking about, right?
Which one?
He was big on it blanked on me, and I made this comparison the other day. He went on the Wizards. He was on the Denver Nuggets. The old man, Andre something.
No,
not Gilbert. Not Gilbert. More of a six player, Andre Miller.
Ah, okay, yeah.
That's a callback. I feel like we're going to some deep knowledge of some things, basketball-wise. But great distributor. Sometimes can kind of score some points, but not with a jump shot. But Ben Simmons right now at 24 is 15 points, 21 rebounds, 7.9 assists, and we care too much about PER, which is just basically the war equivalent of baseball. And is
Andre
that your
Miller.
guy?
Andre Miller, yeah, it's been a while since I've heard this name. Our player remember to forget, right?
Yeah, let's see. We can do a pseudo thing.
Yeah, let's take a look at Andre Miller. I'm looking at it right now. He's played for. Look at all these teams. Yeah, he bounced around a lot. Cleveland, LA Clippers, Philadelphia, Portland, Denver, Washington, Sacramento, Minnesota, and San Antonio. You know your career is not going well when you have to make a stop in Sacramento.
Nope.
Yep. And interesting tidbit for Andre Miller. I guess we'll look at him right now. Basketball reference.
One of my favorite older guys to watch,
From
straight
LA,
up. Especially
played at Utah.
Especially when he was with the Denver Nuggets in those 3 years.
99 NBA draft, first round, 8th overall. by Cleveland. So 2001-01, 2001-02 assist champion, not assistant champion. I'm like, what? And then all rookie team his first year. And he is the only NBA player to have at least 16,000 career points, 8,000 assists, and 1,500 steals without making an all-star game. Interesting. So there's Andre Miller. There's your blast from the past right there. I remember, forget. So let's see, 12.5 points per game for his career, 3.7 total rebounds, 6.5 assists. Yeah, 1,300 games. There you go. And 46% field goal percentage, 80% free throw, and 21% from three. So we know Ben can't shoot the three ball. So they kind of might match up there. He'll stick around in the league. He'll stick around in the league, but yeah.
His style of play just kind of shows it. So for Philly, this year they had to kind of put the team around it because they let Redick walk. They let their other shooters walk. And I like Tobias Harris a lot. But he's not even a 1B. He really is like a 2B. No offense, Tobias. Please follow us on Twitter, FJODR, Charles Latrue, Dan Frijoles, Sports Goofs, Cats and Stats for our guest last week coming into it. I'm thinking too quickly. I forgot his name. Johnny. There we go. And a few other people. But it doesn't work. And so that's why they had to put the other Curry brother in there and a few other stuff. So bring it all back. Doc, you got something? What's up, Doc? You got something to kind of build upon? So aside from them, the other question I have is, and this is to the East. I guess we could talk a little bit about West basketball as well if you want, because we really haven't talked basketball in a bit. Do you feel that Atlanta should be better than what they are? Because I've seen some of their games, and I don't know how I should feel about Trae Young, but I like me some Clint Capella.
I can't talk about. I haven't been paying attention. That's why I was like, that was the title of the episode. I'm waiting for the NBA to get good. I'm not sure. Yeah. It's not like nothing's compelled me to watch. Well, the West games I've been compelled to watch. The East, not so much. It's some teams out West that do compel me. Utah, and basically the underdogs. Anybody but the Lakers, Utah, Dallas. Dallas intrigues me. They're 14 and 15, but they still intrigue me. The Suns. The Suns also intrigue me as well, and of course, our lovely man out there, Dame Lillard. We Portland.
Love him.
Yeah, NBA.
They're literally going to make me into the second team because he's doing it without
Western
help.
Conference Player of the Week over the last week. So there you go for Dame Lillard. And he was the Western Conference Player of the Week, and I think James Harden was the Eastern Conference Player of the Week. So there you go. Those are the two dudes that ended up with those for the NBA. But yeah, Dame Lillard doing his thing. Just it sucks that hasn't. I mean, people know about him, that he's finally on the cover of video game and stuff like that. But gosh darn it, man, he's. I just want him to have one opportunity. Well, he kind of sort of got it when we went to the Western Conference Final, but still, that team was kind of.
It was a reach.
Yeah,
they got swept.
Yeah, they were sputtering by the end of it, just giving it all they could, but just couldn't keep up. So there's no way at that point.
Yeah, he's basically the John Henry Steele of trying to beat the machine and dies at the end. Mm-hmm. There is no big victory there, but. I will always love me. And I've watched a lot more Western games, too, because it's in that bedtime for Charles is usually like 11:30 to 12. But there's certain nights if I'm not exercising or I need to breathe, I'll watch what games out there because the West is just so interesting. And I've seen some of these games when it's the Heat. I have not actively watched non-Heat games. That's for the Eastern Conference. The Western Conference, Utah, because I got that love for Donovan Mitchell.
And compelling matchups, and the teams are better, and it's just better basketball.
It's just so good. And I watch, and here's the thing. The teams I talk crap about, I watch it because that's how invested I am in humble pie. I think the same way with Green Bay and the NFL. What did I do for an entire season, Francisco? I crapped on Aaron Rodgers.
Mm,
I crapped on Aaron Rodgers hard.
mm.
I watched all the available Packer games when I wanted to because I have to. I'm a masochist and I'm a sadist. I have to just take it. You know, might as well just say that my soulmate should be Peggy Hill because she's pegging me when it comes to teams I have to eat humble pie to. Um, and the same way, like I've watched some Phoenix games. I'm not impressed. Like I'm sorry. I know you haven't really watched because we're not there yet. And this is why Francisco and Andrew, I don't think would ever say like shorten hockey season, but you and I will say shorten any long seasons because we know now that there's the meaningless games that are involved. But I would say in about a month, close to April, mid March, that's where you're like, all right, now you have my attention. Now it
Yeah,
really
that's
matters.
why. If this NBA season was shorter, I'd probably be paying more attention to it because then there's more gravity to each game. There's more gravity to each game
What
right now.
messes with me with the virus is that the delay of games is like 5 games. So it's prolonging a season even though they reduced it to prevent it from being a long season.
Mm-hmm.
It's counterintuitive when you look into it.
Well, the NBA, the NHL's had their struggles with they're constantly changing up the schedule, rescheduling things, moving things around when something happens to one team or the other. But there's still only 56 games, so they can afford to spread it out, and they spread it out in that way, and once again you're only facing your own division. So you're not even the NBA is doing a full, well, not a full season, but it's basically a full season. And 70, they cut off 10 games. That's not even. And then they're like, oh, let's split it in half and see how things go from there. And then they added
And then they're doing a stupid
play-in
All-Star
round.
game.
Yeah, the play-in round and stuff like that. So yeah, and they're
Like
and
I
they're
don't
doing an All-Star game, which LeBron hated that they're even doing that. It doesn't make.
I think they all did too, and I find it funny that LeBron hates it and then De'Aaron Fox hates it from Sacramento because you have old meets new.
Mm-hmm.
Because you would think for a lot of younger players, and this is me reaching, but I have to reach sometimes, is that the young players will want to be in the All Star games because they're in the beginning of their career. I don't think the older players, LeBron's 35 going on 36, man, they don't care because they made so many times, but they really value the health at risk. And there's been some reports, and this is the only gotcha news I'm ever really going to bring up with us, is that there is some of them who don't even feel like advocating for the vaccine that's out there. I don't necessarily blame them to that degree because remember, it was easier to compel them to finish the season because it was stopped so close in comparison to now where I think there was, and we talked about it, we referenced it with Kyrie, and you know how I feel about Kyrie. Essentially, I think he's actually super intelligent. Twitter is just a cesspool of negativity and just not liking people who fight against the conformity of norms. Kyrie sometimes puts his foot in his mouth, but a lot of his stuff was just not wanting to do certain things and put at risk because he understands that it's not in their best interest in comparison. And to bring it all together is that I think there was a lot more hesitation to play this season because you're talking about the full 72. You're no longer in the bubble. You're on the road. You might be concerned about contracting stuff, and then you had a star player who not only contracted it but lost family. I'm referencing Karl Anthony Towns,
Nice.
and I don't want to make him into a symbol or a martyr. The man has suffered, and it is absolutely terrible. But I think players would look onto what he has endured, hardship that I'm gonna get on my soapbox right now. That is hardship that really, if there's no boy left in that man, because that is that I'm gonna say right now, that's some shit that he has gone through, and I wouldn't want to put my family at risk. That's the reason why people opted out. And I don't know, man, but the NBA has been interesting because I will say this: sports is escapism, the same way movies are escapism. So the fact that you and I can talk about basketball, and we can even talk about Heat basketball, which is kind of tough. Heat basketball is like the equivalent of wrestling where Bill Goldberg comes out of retirement and wrestles, but you're kind of enjoying it a little bit. Or Sting comes out of wrestling and you see him struggle a little bit to pull some moves, but you enjoy it. But they've at least kind of accomplished that goal. I think the line that might be drawn is when they're going to permit people from coming into the arenas and to do all that stuff. I'm not ready for that. I don't know about you, Ed.
The Heat
if
already
I know the
are gonna let. I mean, they've let people in already, but now they're gonna really
yeah.
expand and kind of go to because the Panthers already let people in. They're gonna basically do the same thing. And then,
So how are the players going to feel about that? And I know there's no fan interaction, but then what happens if they go more lax with the media? Because that happens. Because now are they going to do locker rooms? Because it's different vibe. If you watch some of the media press conferences,
I
it ain't
doubt
the
they'll do that.
same.
Yeah, but I
I
doubt they'll let them in the locker room at this point. And they can do everything with Zoom and all that stuff. It's fine. I'm just surprised the NBA did. Uh, well,
I'm not
this is a
surprised.
production thing for me, more production quality thing. I'm like, why aren't these Zoom calls and all that stuff? How come none of this is like in 1080p, 60 frames per second
Oh my god, so bad.
with clarity of the microphone and all that stuff? I mean, they do it for radio, they do it for, and yet, like, I listen to these after whatever. I get some people with their own computers. A lot of people are probably like on their laptops or whatever. The media people probably on their laptops and like, okay, it works. It does what I need to do. It has Microsoft Word, so it does what I need to do with regards to that. And I don't need no fancy microphone or any of that stuff. But like if the Heat ever let me into the Zoom call, I want to make sure my voice is nice and clear. I
That's
want
why you have
Jimmy
to
to be
get Jabra
impressed.
75T headphones.
I want Jimmy to be impressed with my voice. He won't. I mean, I could buy a webcam, a nice webcam that displays at 1080p and stuff, so he can get a good look at me. We can hang out afterwards, and my man crush. So this is wishful thinking for me on my part, because Jimmy's a cool dude. Come on now. Jimmy's a really
He's
cool
got his
dude.
own coffee brand
Yeah,
for just basically
yeah.
making it in the bubble.
Yeah, makes it in bubble. Man loves to cook. Man, he's a man of the people. We first came to Miami playing dominoes at the park.
Which people got to realize, if you don't live, one of my favorite things about living in Miami, just to give them some insight, because we can kind of, since Levitard's now out, I know they're doing the podcast. Go watch them, go listen to, go
Competing with
follow them.
us.
I mean, but it's like I like to view it as
Well,
step siblings. We're the
yeah.
younger step
Oh no, no.
siblings,
Yeah.
but
Oh no. Well, I see it as I already sent it to you guys over group chat. Like, look, somebody's got to be at the bottom of the ocean. All right, let's
oh
own
yeah,
it. Let's own the bottom of the ocean. Let's be the angler
at
fish.
the
Let's be the
bottom of the
alphas at the
ocean,
bottom.
yeah, at the bottom of the
Look at
ocean
the
is
colossal squid.
our predecessors. Exactly. We are what Ahab
I
chased,
should make a logo
folks.
with that. That should be our
Please,
That should be our mascot.
please.
Yeah,
I'm
we're
about that.
colossal squids. All right. Before
Um,
before the Seattle Kraken could come in and sue us up the butt for taking it from them.
Well, screw them. To bring it to that, like Jimmy just doing that. Living in Miami, one of my favorite things was seeing the little viejos outside the little liquor store
Mm,
playing dominoes.
mm-hmm.
It's that culture that you invite into. Um, basketball's. I wonder what they do in Portland. I feel like that might be a secondary team because I
Portland's
just
weird,
love
man.
Dame so much these days.
Have you not watched Portlandia? Have you
Yeah.
watched it?
Okay. So
Have you watched
yes,
Portlandia?
I have, and yeah,
Is it
I've
your
watched
type of
bits of it. But
comedy?
here,
I liked it.
I I like. I mean, look, if you for anybody who says they don't like Portlandia but likes The Office, they're full of crap because it's almost the same humor but just different development. I would say. My problem
More
is I
absurdist.
don't.
More absurdist, I
It
think.
will.
Come on
It's
now.
there, but it's not. It's a comedy, but it's not a comedy. I would venture. Just the feeling of it. It's been a while, but I would agree with you on that. Um, what I would say though is I don't know if I like the main character. There's some comedians who
Which
I
one?
just can never get to. The guy.
Fred
He's also
Armisen?
on El.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fred Armisen. He's also on El Spooky on HBO. My
Yeah.
mother loves that. I couldn't get into it because it's something about Fred Armisen and what he does. I can't break from it. It's the same
Mm.
way how I feel about Rob Corddry. Every time I
Ah.
see Rob Corddry, I don't want to say I want to smack him in case he listens to us, follow us on Twitter, but I have to change the channel. I also felt the same way about Jolo Truglio until I watched him in Brooklyn Nine-Nine as Charles. And maybe
Mm.
it's because my namesake, but he also kind of has like the same kind of last name as me if you really whiten up my last name. Um, so maybe I just look at him like I can't be this 5'3" man with very side parted hair because sometimes I part my hair to the side as a professional. Um, but yeah, Portlandia, I know it's weird. The same thing of like Austin, Texas, like keep Austin weird. My
Yeah.
buddy used to live in Austin, so that's how I kind of go from there. We definitely went off the rails.
Oh,
So,
I mean, we're getting close to the halfway point. That's why we're getting off the rails there. That's
but
why we're getting off the rails.
I'll, I'll try to gear it to the NBA to one thing. Do I want an All Star game? Hell no. Doc Rivers, he's gonna poop the bed. Milwaukee, what is going on? Because Drew
I
Holiday, and I could have
can't.
told you not to trade for Drew Holiday to
I
begin with
can't
because I
see
like
the.
Drew, but
I
hold on a second.
I can't see the purpose of an All Star game with no actual human beings there to watch it.
Yeah.
I don't know what's it's
Unless,
in Atlanta. I don't know what Georgia's doing. I don't know if they're letting
oh,
people
it's
in.
to get James Harden there and Lou Williams. That's what it's about. Gonna get the strip clubs and the chicken
Yeah,
wings.
because I don't understand why Atlanta. Well, I guess it's a somewhat warm weather. For right now warm weather location.
Am I getting
They don't
Jermaine
want
Dupri saying "Welcome to Atlanta" where the players play? Because that would feel so much better
to.
than when Atlanta hosted the Super Bowl and then have Outkast perform.
Yeah, because well, at least they didn't put in L.A. again for like the 40th
Yeah,
time in the last 10
LA's had
years.
their time in the sun. And,
Yeah.
and I'll say this about LA. Everybody's panicking. Yes, I know they've lost like 4 of the last 5. You're supposed to lose in basketball. Even the best teams, not named the Warriors from a couple years back, lose. You have to take into effect that their team is injured, that they also suffer because it's no coincidence, absolutely no coincidence. The 2 teams who were in the finals in the NBA championship have the big stars that are hurt,
Yeah.
us and them, because it was a shorter turnaround.
Yep.
There was no healing, and they were playing injured to begin with.
Yeah, it
So
was literally like
calm
they there was negotiations, the CBA and all that stuff, and then finally like, yeah, we're gonna do training camp in like 2 weeks. What? Which they announced it. It was okay, yeah, and then the games are starting. Games are starting, everybody. Merry Christmas. Oh, okay, all right, cool. Basketball's back, everybody, and I'm like, I honestly wasn't ready to be like
I wasn't ready either.
I was like, we're still in the NFL right now, and and I got the NHL when they came back. I'm like, okay, it's a new year. It kind of feels like it should start right now, and they had and once again 56 games. I'm like, I can do that. I can do 56 games. I can do the regular season ending in May. Normally ends in April, like the NBA, but I can do May. It's 1 month, whatever, and then they'll
I
they'll
think what
probably
happened
go
was
to
the
the bubble. I'm sure they're gonna have like a bubble again for the playoffs. I feel like that's what's gonna happen. They're gonna go up to Canada, do Edmonton and Toronto again, and then just kind of go
Yeah,
from there.
and they're really hoping that travel restrictions come from a more lax area. But I think they also felt pressure from the NFL. Say what you will about how they mismanaged everything that was the Ravens and nothing that was Cleveland, but they completed their entire season without a hiccup. I mean, there was hiccups, but there's light hiccups and there's big hiccups.
Yeah,
There was no canceled games fully. No
that's
one
true.
went 15-1 and forced tie
Mm-hmm.
and forfeited picks.
Yeah, or
And that really is a
rescheduled the
pressure.
game like at the end of the season or anything like that. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's really pressure because here's the thing.
NXT.
Roger Goodell pooped the bed completely in preparation. They had the most knowledge coming into it. They had almost 6 months and they still effed it up. Um, so it just kind of comes in where I'm like, all right. So I think that's where they had the pressure, especially for the NBA, because it's the second most popular sport in the U.S.
Yeah.
right now. It ain't baseball. Baseball, I don't know if it succeeded or it lost, in my opinion, after the virus season, as I call it. The right team won, I would feel, if it's not the Yankees, but so many teams got delayed. Not a lot of people were invested. It was a shorter time frame. Fan
Only one
bases
team
don't
didn't
know.
complete their schedule, and it was the Cardinals, but they had clinched anyways by that point, so it didn't matter for them to finish their last 2 games, I think. So
Yeah,
and
and so think about that. Because a purist, and as annoying as they can be, the compelling argument is that say even though you had clinched it by 5 games, I think, um,
yeah,
you still didn't finish it out. So you have an incomplete record. And
yeah,
there was big concerns because at least the NBA did the bubble. MLB is like, we're just gonna do it, man. We're gonna go on these offsites, and we're gonna try to make something happen here. But it'll be interesting. I think we're gonna have one more season of virus indicative scheduling,
yeah,
and I'm hoping that the NBA gives us less, not more. unless there's bigger stakes. And how do you solve the bigger stakes? You temper it the way that the MLB did, and you just say, hey, East West, 1 through 16, baby. That's what I'm going for. Time to experiment, time to get weird.
Yep.
Because everybody in that even the teams that are not in the top 8, they're better. They're so much better.
Yep.
They're ridiculously better. Even the bottom guys are better than the Bucks. So I think for all sports except for obviously football, I don't even think MLB has made a determination what they're doing with their season. I wish they reduce it because I think the pitchers that we signed need less time.
Major League Baseball still hasn't even decided on the DH. I mean, they've decided on the DH thing. Won't have it for this year, but then we'll see. The CBA is coming up, so we'll see what happens there. I doubt. It just depends on TV money. They probably don't want to lose the local TV packages. That's what they're trying to do. But there's a lot of things and opinions about what Major League Baseball should do with regards to their broadcasting feature being more open, no more blackouts, things like that they could use to grow the game. Hey, it'd be nice to be able to see every team in some way, shape, or form online.
I don't follow them West Coast teams.
Yeah, it'd be nice to hey, they're broadcasting on YouTube today. Like they tried it a few times last season. Hey, why not do that more? Why not do that more? So, all right, Charles, we're halfway there. So let's go to a word from our non-sponsors, people, places, things, concepts, what have you, that we've been enjoying over the last week or so. And I'll tell you, I didn't really. I could say Community because I've been enjoying that over the last week. Great show, but that could be a non-sponsor at any time. At any time.
6 seasons in a movie.
Yeah, well,
just remember, kids.
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna go with something different, something that really surprised me, and I'm surprised that I'm even mentioning this. It's an NES game. That's how far deep we're going in, because it just popped up on the Nintendo Switch Online, one of the newer additions to that. It's called Fire and Ice. So
Not a Game of Thrones reference, kids. Yeah. We're old. We play old games.
So Fire and Ice, it was released on the NES back in like 1993. There you go, 93 here in the US at least. And it is a sequel to Solomon's Key, which was also on the NES. I already played through Solomon's Key in my great backlog New Year's resolution. So I'm close to beating 40 games now. So I've been really hacking.
You're definitely doing much better than me, pal.
Well, once again, a lot of NES games, a lot of really short games, so it's not like the only long game so far was Batman, Arkham Asylum, and now MGS5, which is I'm still trying to hold myself to that, beat it by the end of the month. So that's why I've been playing a lot of the actual main missions than the side ops. So we'll see. I still got a few days left. Still got 5 days to go. I think if I really put my head down and power through, I can do it. I can get through all 50 missions, but it's gonna be really hard. Anyways, this is Fire and Ice. I don't even know what the story's about, to be honest, but it's a prequel to Solomon's
Is there really
Key.
any stories to NES games?
There's a story to this one. So there's a wizard named Dana, or gosh, man, I really have trouble with men named Dana. I really do. Like, it just seems like, should I say it Dana? Because they're a male?
Dana.
You got was it Dana White from UFC, whatever? And I still,
Yep.
Every time I see that name, I'm like, I feel like he went into UFC just to prove that he's a man to everybody else. He's got picked on as a kid. Like, oh, you have a girl's name. I feel like that's...
It's like men named Ashley.
Yeah, or Terry. Terry's one of those interchangeable ones. But Dana seems more female-based. But whatever, it's 2021. You can have whatever your name you want. Doesn't matter. But regardless, it's just my personal stuff. Well, anyways, this is Fire and Ice for the podcast, folks. It's an puzzle platformer, I would say, where you have uh, flames. You have to eliminate all of the flames in the level using your ice powers. So you're Dana, who has a wand that churns up ice into space, and you basically just got to figure your way out through all of these puzzles. I think there are 90 levels, and I think I've beaten like 50 of them already, so I'm almost done with the game. I'm almost done with the game. I think it'll probably last me like 4 hours in total. I haven't checked how long to beat.com. I just played it for like a little bit after like late at night. I have my Switch by my bed. I'm like, okay, let me check out some of these new games that are on the service. I'm like, okay, Fire and Ice. Played it for like a little bit. I'm like, okay, but then like my first playthrough, I beat like 30 levels, so it hooked me instantly. And it's really like I was surprised that this was an NES game from like the animation and stuff. Like, there's really smooth animations. And
Yeah,
look, look,
that's reminding me of a little bit about modern day, callback to 32-bit.
that
I think
I
it was
was
more
thinking
32
like
than 16.
I was thinking more like Game Boy Color games, because Game Boy Color games
Yeah.
look like this. That's what this reminded me of. I was like, wow, this is smooth animation, great sound, great visuals. It's not glitching. There's no flickering or anything. This is and once again 1993. So the NES was out for a while, like since for at this point. So if you're making a game
And
at
them
this point,
kids
you better
don't
know.
know.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, at this point they should know how to optimize all the games. And I forgot who developed this. Oh, Tecmo's the one who developed this game. So yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one if you have the NES, or I mean, sure, try and find the NES version, or if you got the Switch, try it out. You're already playing. You're already paying for the online service. This is a good game. It'll last you for a weekend. It's almost like a rental from way back in the day. I go like this would have been a nice rental back in Blockbuster days. That's for sure. So promo code Ice Ice baby.
Love it. Um, so I'm next, and it's kind of in between, but my non-sponsor is a little bit funnier. Yeah, I would say funny for me because I haven't had it in such a long time. But when it's weekend time, your boy likes to, as my friend says, vibe. And my form of vibing is essentially if I'm not going out, I'm essentially, playing video games and having myself a little bit of the bubbly. So I went on recommendation. Yeah, I've been on a rum kick. So for those who are trying to figure out where we are in the scale of alcoholism, Andrew loves his cheer wine. Francisco, I don't know enough. I don't think we've ever got drinks, but I think
Uh,
Francisco's probably a decent
I don't think
guy.
we've ever had it. No, no, we never got drinks while we were in law school. We never did.
Yeah.
But
Me, I'm
yeah,
like, yeah, but what would you say is your radar or your rating of it, so I can at least kind of go for my example.
like what? Like
You
what?
partake when you partake.
What? Uh, I partake in rum. That's a thing.
Well, what
Um,
a coincidence.
let's see. I mean, vodka kind of goes with anything. It's kind of there. You can kind of mix it with anything else. I like girly drinks. I like fruity drinks. That's for sure.
Listen, I love me some Long Island iced teas,
Yeah,
hands down.
yeah. I like girly drinks for sure. That's basically. I'm not looking for. I'm just looking for the sweets, man. I'm not looking for
Yeah,
the alcohol. I know it's the
and
byproduct of it, but you know, I just like the sweets, and that's why I like the nice fruity drinks. The
well,
strawberry
I'm
daiquiris.
with
Get
you.
yourself get the apple teeny like JD from Scrubs. You know.
Yes. So I'm with you on that one. I like things that taste good because for me, it's my way of unwinding. I don't think I have a stressful, unhealthy job. I have obligations to go to, but I know how to, enjoy life for what we have and what we eat, what I do in exercise, and what I do in the recreational activities. So I went on a suggestion from one of my friends to try a new form of rum. I think I'm usually a Scotch whiskey rum guy. I don't do anything like I can't do Jack Daniels, and that nasty. But I tried this new rum called Kirk and Sweeney. That is not my non-sponsor. I think it tastes like a tire, and they can hear me.
I
I'll
thought
tell
you
you right now,
said
it tastes
Kirk.
like a
I thought
little.
you said Kirkland's signature. I'm like, you went to Costco, huh?
Yeah, exactly. It's Kirk and Sweeney, and it
Okay.
looks like a little cannonball, but it tastes like a tire, like rubber.
Oh, okay.
It literally tastes good for 2 seconds, and even through the Coca-Cola I had, it did not taste so good. So I said, man, I'm gonna need something sweet to counteract this little solid going on. So I went to Publix, and I got Wild Cherry Pepsi because I need the sweetest of sweet. And my non-sponsor this week is Wild Cherry Pepsi, which I have not had in probably 10 years because I'm not a child, but I knew I needed something to help me out because even for me to take it straight was going to be there, but I
I
wasn't going to enjoy
feel
it.
like Andrew has done this one before.
For the cheer wine, maybe.
I think no, I think he did Wild Cherry Pepsi. I think.
Well,
I'm not
you know
sure.
what?
Unless it was Cherry Coke. It might be the competitor there. I'm not sure. We'll have to
I,
ask him.
we will, but all I can tell you is that was a godsend because it was just no bueno by itself. But the wild cherry Pepsi really helped it out because Friday night, that's when I had the Kirk and Sweeney with the regular Coke. It's like, there's no bueno. But then Saturday, I went and I just got to Publix and I said, I need this. And it helped balance it out because I'm like, it's for my time. I just want to play Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I want to do some cool stuff, man. And there's nothing worse than buying something the same equivalent if it's a food or if it's an alcoholic beverage where you don't want to drink it because it's nasty. And so Wild Cherry Pepsi really helped it out because I've had Cherry Coke. I like Cherry Coke too, but it has more of a bite than the sweet effect. This one was more sweet and it counteracted that little um, kind of bitter sour taste, tasting like a tire. So, you know, Wild Cherry Pepsi, you are my non-sponsor, and I think promo code I would have it be Let's Get Wild. Wet and Wild. There we go. Wet and Wild.
There we go. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, do we have one for Andrew? Should we make one for Andrew?
I'll find something for Andrew. I'm just gonna give a shout out for Andrew's sake. All right,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
he took the bar exam. That
Again.
stuff's not easy, you
Ugh.
guys.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of perseverance to do it because I would not take it again. And any of my friends who has, or
I
anybody who's not
I
my
don't know
friend
if
to do it
you.
again is pure
I think
discipline.
there are. I don't know. I think there's one person that I know at least that took it the first time with me and then never went again when he didn't pass. It's just it takes such a toll on you. It takes such a
And
toll
to
on
give
you.
people insight of what our boy went through, our soldier, to study for the bar exam, for me, it was like, and anybody who listens to an old show, you had Andrew for an hour pooping on the floorboard at bar examiners, which is fine. I can't do it because I'm barred, so I'm not gonna do it. But you're talking about at that first blush, that first attempt, more than I would say 10 hours of studying. The burnout comes in, the fear of doubt, concern, realizing that law school is a scam. That in all truth, if the board did not require a JD and all you had to do was just pass the exam itself, you would be barred as an attorney.
Yeah, like
Um,
Abraham Lincoln back
and
in the
like
day.
Abraham Lincoln, the high tuition, and then to have to go at it again and try to work, pause your work, take less of a pay so you could do better in your life. Remember when I talked about Brody Lee on his tribute special that we
Mm-hmm.
had and how
Yeah.
wrestling and I felt connected to it? It's that kind of stuff where you had to pause life to try to go for the bigger dream, to try to achieve it on something that may be or may not be in your control. We will go into the details of how you prepare and everything like that and what you have to cover for. You want to do that? Come talk to us if you want to be lawyers. We'll talk to you about it.
Yeah.
But it takes so much. It is a tenacity that is brought into you to go again. Because I'll tell you right now, I would not have done it again. I would not have done it. Even if I was a point off, I would not have done it again because I know being a point under, I could be 10 points under
I
next time.
dreaded taking that thing again. I dreaded it. That was I was gonna have like a freaking midlife crisis if I had to take that thing again.
Yeah, and sometimes you're lucky because they catch you on the curve and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I passed where I had to pass, and it was great, but it was great because I didn't have to do again. No one wants to go to prison a second time, right?
Mm.
That's what it felt like knowing that I had to do it. So him and anybody else, you know what? Because this would be what Andrew wants. Anybody who took the Florida bar exam right now, you guys are my non-sponsor because they have to do it on repeat or going at it first time. It takes some guts because I know people too who got the JD and they were just too intimidated to go take the bar exam, and they're selling their lives as being paralegals or taking that to
Yeah,
go
or,
into an MBA position,
or a
and
government
it is no
position or
bueno.
something like that that just
Yeah.
doesn't require you to expound legal knowledge, you know? Yeah, I get that completely. All right. Well, we're into the second half of our show. And honestly, I think we should go outside of the box. We should just talk about video games for the rest of the show or something.
I'll talk about video games.
I don't know, man.
I'll talk.
I mean, okay. Let's do it. Let's Nintendo Direct last week, because that was
There's a sports
that
thing.
was the thing that happened last week after our show, and that was a big thing that went down, and because I didn't really watch sports. I didn't even watch the Panthers. Panthers are doing well. Panthers are doing really well.
You're first place, right?
They're finally doing what I was saying, which is putting Chris Drieger as the number one goaltender and not Sergei Bobrovsky, even though we're
Because
paying.
Quinn Daddy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, well, yeah, because Bobrovsky's getting paid a ton, but he's not good. So let's just go with what's working. Hopefully Seattle will take him from our hands. If we'll just have to, I don't know, give up a ton of draft picks or something like that. I don't care what, just to get rid of them. Maybe take the poison pill like the Eagles did. I'm not sure. So that could happen. But regardless, that's what's going down. The Panthers are doing well, and I'm good. I'll be back next week, more prepared and everything like that. But we'll talk about video games.
We gave everybody an hour and 45 minutes of hockey talk last week, which was exceptional. Listen to it on our podcast.
I sat down and I researched that for like a couple of days on my weekend. So, yeah.
And how good was Johnny? We're taking it live to give a shout out to John because
that's a man
that was
dedicated.
Dedicated. Knows his stuff.
Listen to his podcast, please.
Listen to his podcast. Yeah. Insightful.
I can't talk to you know what? I'm lucky that I was given the opportunity to cover hockey when I know next to nothing about the sport when I started. Like, I was a noob. I mean, you're talking about a guy who just learned the sport, is Hispanic and stuff like that. I mean, sheesh, man, I was not the normal demographic for the sport coming in. So
you're considered a panda, but you're a red panda.
So I stumble upon certain stuff in my life. I just end up being where I am. I just ride the roller coaster and see where it takes me. So but Johnny, I don't know who's out there. I don't know who is out there, but give him the opportunity, please. The man knows his stuff. I don't know who it is.
Him on his Twitter, the psychotic
somebody
bacon.
With money. That's for
the
sure.
Psycho Bacon. That's his Twitter.
Yeah, the Psycho Bacon. He's got a Twitch account. I don't know if he streams, but our good old buddy Dougie Soul has been streaming.
Really?
He's playing racing games. Okay. There's one thing I'm pretty darn sure we could probably get him to talk about it. Is Doug loves him some auto sports. All right, the F1s, all that stuff. Yeah, he's into all of that, and he's. I talked to him. I even showed him one of those like insane gaming rigs for like the racing games that they got there.
Oh my god, yeah, I remember those days when you had the racing wheels for the PS2.
Oh no, but I'm talking about the people that do it
High
today.
def?
Yeah, with like the gaming PC with the hydraulics, so it feels like you're in a freaking like your initial D or whatever. I don't know if you've seen that anime, but yeah.
I have not seen that one, but I just have this image now of Doug in some basement in his very successful life or wherever he's living, going to, coming off from the suit and then all of a sudden just putting on a full racing gear then like a Ricky Bobby attire. It just makes me something happen with it.
He wouldn't be Ricky Bobby. He'd be Sacha Baron Cohen's character.
That's exactly who I thought about.
Yeah, but Italian, not French, Italian. So yeah, that would probably be Doug. But yeah, that guy's been playing. It's an Italian name for the video game, obviously, because it's F1. I think he's been playing that, and it looks good for sure. He's playing that on his Xbox One. So
I mean, man, if it's not Mario Kart, I don't f's with it, man.
I can't deal with it.
I'm not a car guy.
Most I can do is like Need for Speed. Most I can do is Need for Speed
Yeah.
because there's some air of ridiculousness there, kind of like Fast and Furious, kind of like that. But I can't do Gran Turismo. Can't do it.
Ah, boring.
Forza maybe. I did Forza. I had Forza 6 on my PC. I played through that.
Burnout was fun.
I played through that. That was
Because you
fun
just
because
crashed everything.
yeah, it didn't. You know what it is? It doesn't require me to know everything about a car. Because I've seen Doug's playthroughs. He customized everything about it. Like I don't even know what. I can't even name them. The stuff that you customize in that, but he customizes it. He customizes it. I can't do that. I can't do Gran Turismo. That's too simmy for me. Too
I
simmy.
get anxiety just trying to get new windshield wipers. You telling me I got to try to figure out like torque and
Yeah.
drift and I mean I know the common things, but man,
Yeah.
don't ask me to be more than what I am, please.
Yeah. So okay, Nintendo Direct happened last week, and yeah. Okay, let's go with the sport related one. Mario Golf. Mario
Excited.
Golf. I am, and I haven't bought a Mario Golf game to be honest. Didn't buy N64 or Game Boy or GameCube and I think that was the
I
last
played
one.
the GameCube.
Oh no,
one
there
a
was
lot.
3DS one I think too. So yeah.
Yeah, I know I played the GameCube one when I was much younger. I used to visit the family in New York, and my niece and nephews had it, and we would just spend hours doing it. That's how I learned golf two ways: that and golden tee at the bar,
Yeah. It's
which is a good time too.
like Mario Tennis. Mario Tennis is the only reason I know the rules of tennis.
Well, listen, Super Golf or whatever they call it, Super Rush, right? Whatever the
Mario
formal name of
Golf
it, we'll call
was
it.
it? Yeah, something Rush,
Rush.
because there's like a different component to it this time where you have to race.
I like the speed. It's just kind of like speed golfing, pitch and putt.
Yeah, I don't know what I don't. Yeah, maybe I don't know what. Well, we'll see. We'll see when they have more. Did they tell you when it's coming out? I
It's
forgot.
June, baby.
June.
Coming out in June, and then a couple months
Okay.
later is the other one we're going to talk about.
Oh wow.
But like they did Mario Tennis well. I loved Aces. I have it. I've popped in 15, 16 hours, and that's a lot for a game that doesn't last too long. So you know how many matches I play the online component of it. I like their tournaments. It's been a bit, but I'll come into it. It's one of those games where I paid like $30 because your boy doesn't pay full price for anything. But for a sports game that's more of a novelty, it was deep. It was fun.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for the golf. Would I get it for 60? Hell no. 30 on a couple of trade-ins, I'm about it because it might be something that I play during the show because Switch games or sports games are perfect for the show. I'm playing
golf is
Smash right
great.
now.
Yeah, you just line up one shot, and then okay, did my shot, now I talk, and so but look, I mean, it looks good. It looks good already. Looks better than let's say a Wii Sports if they had done that. So the graphics are great and everything like that. It's a Mario Golf game. It's not going to be too complicated. We're not going to get a PGA Tour thing, but it's looking good.
Story mode, very weird, but I'll take
that's
it.
the thing. That's what compelled me because I probably wouldn't get this because I'm not into golf. I'm not really into golf. So even like Wii Sports Golf, I played it because like my dad liked it and stuff, but I didn't really play it on its own for my own enjoyment. And obviously if I didn't get a Mario Golf game, then it's like, okay, you're not really gonna enjoy the sport. Same thing with Mario like Strikers, like soccer. Like I can't do soccer.
I love Strikers, though.
can't do
I was
soccer.
kind of hoping for that.
I can't even do
But it was so fun.
There's an ice mush. Oh, they have the ice flower and stuff. I did not know that. I didn't know you do that too. That looks pretty cool.
Yep.
That looks pretty cool. Okay. All right. So, yeah, the speed golf. That looks like a cool mode. That'd probably be pretty cool to play online.
I just felt like they could have taken that opportunity, though, instead of just making it a singular game. They should have just done a sport compodium the way they did Wii Sports and just make it to the Mario characters. Just fuse the Mario basketball, baseball, strikers, and golf itself.
They make.
But,
they make
Nintendo
more
needs to
this
make
way.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
And then
why put
my-
them all together when you can charge separately? Come on.
Well, then there's our 30-year-old asses looking at it like, we're going to probably buy it at some point. And we accept it. We accept it because we want our video games to be fun.
I personally wouldn't be. This wouldn't be on my radar if it wasn't for that I guess, story mode component. I don't know what I'm still on the fence with regards to it. But it's on my radar. If the reviews come out and are like, hey, even if you don't really like golf, it's still fun, then I probably will get it, especially for the story mode, because I don't know if you played any of the handheld Mario sports games like
No.
golf or tennis. Well, I had Mario Tennis on the Game Boy Color, and that had a story mode where it's not really a create a character, but you play as either a boy or girl, and
Yeah.
it's an RPG. It is a tennis RPG with the Mario character in the Mario world, but you don't really interact with the characters until like later on in the game when you're good enough to face one of them, and you rise to the top. That compelled me. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm gonna be so good I can face off against Mario. As a kid, that's your dream.
It's the ultimate highlight.
Yeah, so I was hoping. I didn't even get Mario Tennis for the Switch, even though you like it and probably would recommend it. But
I liked it. It's worth it. It's like an 8 at $35.
yeah, I probably, maybe I'll get it someday, but I'm not sure. But this, with the RPG components, if it's really fleshed out, I hope. If it's kind of like bare bones and kind of like Wii, whatever, I'm like, okay, maybe not. But regardless, it's on my radar. So yeah, Mario. That was the.
And I heard, I would read some people saying, oh, a story mode for this kind of game, but NBA 2K has story mode with their created characters. Madden has it.
Yeah.
This one is at least kind of cute because it's like, hey, I could actually play with Mario and Luigi. I don't care about playing like basketball.
NBA had a freaking story mode that was directed by Spike Lee. Come on now.
I think the only good story that I played in a sports game was Fight Night Champions, which, oh man, that was my jam back in the day. I really wish they could get back, but right now it means nothing. But that's because it was a little bit out there, and it's easier to put that grittiness in boxing than you would have with like basketball, stuff like that. But I would agree with you. I'm big interest on Super Rush.
Other game, well, No More Heroes got a release date. That one I'm really looking forward to. I've played.
It's probably a birthday gift for Charles.
Yeah, and you already know, like just the trailer right there, and there wasn't much. I put no more herpes. Whoops.
God.
And the O and the P are next to each other, and you switch that one letter, Heroes becomes herpes. So, not my fault. Well, kind of my fault, but still.
I would love if anybody.
That'd be a pretty cool video game to play. Travis touchdown going down into the body.
Well, granted that's a side story where Travis gets the dirty and then has to try to cure it out. I can really see he's just going to be microscopic and he's the cure and he's in some kind of open.
Kind of like was it?
We're going really dark here.
The movie with
Osmosis.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Chris Rock and like that.
Yeah,
that, but with Travis touchdown. But regardless, this already looks ridiculous, and
they're aliens, angelic aliens too. I feel like it's a homage to like Bayonetta because if you look how they do their alien construct, they look more like demons and angels.
This game is a homage to a lot of things.
And that's how all those games were.
Yeah. Look at all the references there. 8-bits, RPGs. There's some stuff like Yakuza type of stuff where you do ridiculous side missions. There's some RPG elements in there. There's like some there's like Final Fantasy right there. There's like some survival horror stuff there. Like this game has everything. Travis is just like the most awesome otaku in the history of otakus.
He's basically Japanese Deadpool.
Yeah.
All things considered. Ryan Reynolds version.
Yeah. So this is. I can't wait. I really can't wait. Even I don't know if you played Travis Strikes Again, but
I didn't. I skipped on it when I kind of figured out it was just more of a side story standalone.
Yeah, if you can. I think they released the physical version, but I don't know if it was like a limited.
Yeah, no, the physical version's out there. Okay. I've seen it for like $25.
Yeah, maybe if it lowers, it'd be a nice, like a $10. I think you can get through in $10.
Well, I told you I was interested in just getting the remastered because it's been 9 years.
Yeah,
if that longer.
Yeah.
And some games are worth kind of the revisit on remasters because you don't really get to truly appreciate them. I usually mandate myself to play remasters or remakes when there's the new sequel coming in, like I did that with the Uncharted's. And then with Last of Us 2 came out, I replayed the first one because it had been 10 years. I can't do what some people do is like instantly play the new one when there's only been a few years from the other one. You got too much free time.
Yeah.
I can't do that. If it's been 3 years and you're like, I'm gonna replay this before that, I'm like, no, I need a good 10 years. That's why I was very excited for Super Mario All Stars because
Yeah.
I'm like, holy crap, it's been decades because we're old as hell.
Yeah.
Um, so for that, and I was expecting Mad
I
World.
mean, this
Side note,
Nintendo Direct was basically a bunch of games that were released at some point between the last few years up to like NES days being re-released. That's what this
yep.
was, because you had a freaking Famicom Detective series, like remakes of NES games that are full blown, basically brand new games in a way. And first time we're getting them, so that's it's a new experience for us. So there's that.
Ghosts and
You had Ninja
Goblins.
Gaiden. They got a Ninja Gaiden pack with like the 3D games, which I
Yeah.
think intrigues me, especially. I
Did you never play them?
I never played them. I don't know if they're hack and slash like Bayonetta. Maybe I'd like them. I would hope.
I think I played one and I beat two. I didn't play three because the reviews were no bueno, but they came out with the third one on the Wii U.
Okay.
So my whole thing is it just makes more sense if you just did a fourth one, or a relaunch. I would have ventured that they did
The
that
thing
like
is,
they
the
did with
Nintendo
Other
people
M.
didn't get them, so I think that's why they're re-releasing them. Like, hey, we can finally play them.
I
Like
guess.
people like me.
Yeah. And that also makes me think Ryu is going to be a Smash character.
That could be. He's probably one of
He
the
works his
last
best sword.
NES era guys that hasn't made it in.
So that at Rygar, we're not getting
I
Rygar. You don't even need
As-
Rygar because you have
aside from
Simon.
Greninja, we don't really have any ninja characters. That's surprising. That we don't have a ton of them. Samurai Warriors 5 for, I think, basically like, hey, do you like Hyrule Warriors? Do you really like? You could play a new version like Samurai Warriors. It's where we got it from. Please buy this. Please buy this. Please don't be a Zelda. Like, I'm a Zelda fan, so that's the reason I have Hyrule Warriors. I don't know if I'll play Samurai Warriors. I don't know. I don't think I'll get through that. I'll buy the DLC for Hyrule Warriors. That's for sure. I'm gonna play through that. I already bought it actually. I already pre-ordered it. So that's a done deal.
Dedicated.
I'm gonna add another what 20 hours to that. I don't know how many hours is gonna be added to that, but still, I played that game for like 60 hours. And I love it. Legend of Mana, that's getting remastered. So once again, another remastered game. Plants vs Zombies, I'm not playing that. Star Wars Hunters, but
We don't know anything about it. Tell us.
yeah, exactly. Knockout City, which I guess is one of those like Ninjala, Splatoon, Jet Set Radio inspired type of games. Sunset Overdrive. It's kind of like wacky multiplayer. I don't know if it's free to play, but it's dodgeball, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Ninjala, I think, had some success. I never got around to playing it, but
I like it.
I know it was a good start to free to play for people.
Yeah. Let's see. Apex Legends coming next month.
Yeah,
Skyward Sword. I don't know if you played that.
I didn't. So I'm excited-ish for it, but I feel like I was so happy with Breath of the Wild because it was exactly. And we remember when Johnny was like, "Oh, I hated Breath of the Wild." I loved what Breath of the Wild did, so I feel like it's a fallback Skyward. But I skipped Skyward because I was not going to play a Zelda game at 480p. I was very adamant about not doing that, but I kind of want to see what that upgrade looks like because just because you're HD touched up doesn't mean you're actually HD.
I think this will do a lot better than Twilight Princess did because it was kind of like in between. It had like the the art style ish of Wind Waker mixed with Twilight Princess, kind of in between Nintendo. So I think this will do better. I mean, from the looks of it, there's still kind of blurry graphics or textures. It's the textures really. It's texture work. They're not gonna upgrade the graphics, but I like this game. A lot of people don't. A lot of Zelda fans don't because of the motion controls or the fact that it was, I guess, more linear than other Zelda games.
Well, it's the first of the first.
Yeah, but it's from the timeline's perspective, it's the original. Like that's the starting point for now. for now at least, until they add something new. But it's I like this game. I played it. I love the Wii motion controls. I think I'm not sure if I'll double dip because I still have it on the Wii and be playing it all over. I didn't rebuy Twilight Princess, and I only got Wind Waker because it was free. So, and I didn't even play through it all, regardless. And it's hard for me to play through Zeldas again, to be honest. It's just too much dedication.
Nothing memorable happens.
Aside from Majora's Mask. Majora's Mask is probably the only one that I will actively play through again. And the Minish Cap. The Minish Cap was another one that I really, really like, and I played through again for a second time.
I feel for me that I've played 4, 5 Zelda games. I would probably get Skyward at a decent price because I know I missed out on it. But I loved Wind Waker, personally speaking. Twilight Princess, it was one of those things that was 12 years ago. And I think what bothered me about Twilight Princess, it was one of the first longer Zelda games. Yeah. Because I think, if I remember correctly, it took me like the 50 plus hours. But I remember the first half just being kind of like a dog chase or chasing your tail. And then that's when everything came together because you have to go for all the equipment. I have no problem acquiring equipment. But the one thing I've always hated in any game history is backtracking. And it felt like that. Yeah. I did love the Ganon fight. And I remember it. And that matters so much because the one I'll give, or the big negative I'll give on Breath of the Wild, is that the Calamity Ganon fight was kind of disappointing. Even though the second component was great, the first one wasn't. Yeah. You know what I mean? You want the experience. I still think Wind Waker is my favorite Ganon all around.
Yeah, because
it's not fair to qualify.
That was like a one-on-one match, and then just the way it ends at the end, I'm like, oh, that was epic. It was epic. And
it's a pure homage to all things Japanese.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's laughing, and he knows he's been defeated, but he's like, I'm gonna take you down with me. Like that's just so freaking damn evil. Like I love it. That was a great ending. But yeah, Skyward Sword. Good. It's coming out. I like the Joy-Cons, but I don't know if I'll double dip on those.
I like the flicking on the motion controls too. Yeah. How they're going to use the right analog stick for the sword movement. I can get behind that.
The beauty of this is that because the first one you had the Wii remote and nunchuck, and the nunchuck kind of restricted your movement. So this one you got way more free range. Although I don't like holding the Joy-Cons because they're not as girthy, I would say, as the Wii remote. You know.
Can I do the same with my Pro controller? Because that's all I care about.
Well, they said that you could use the right joystick to control the sword.
That's what I like about it.
But I don't know if you can move it as just move your arms. I'm not sure. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
If you played the game ARMS, you know that the Switch Joy-Cons are intuitive enough for it, but your arms are going to be tired if you're in the big boss battles going into it.
Yeah.
You're basically going to have your own shake weight.
Skyward Sword, Project Triangle. I'm not playing that.
That is Octopath Traveler Part 2.
Yeah, I'm not.
I don't care what they tell me.
I'm not doing that. I'm just not. I just won't. And then, let's get to the big one. Splatoon 3.
Oof.
That was a surprise. I wasn't expecting at all another Splatoon. I thought it was gonna be one of those like one per console type of deals. Wasn't expecting a third one. I'm like, okay, we went through the whole. They're redoing the Splatfest right now, just repeating old ones. But they already did the Octoling DLC. I'm like, okay, the game finished. Inkling's gotten Smash. They're in Mario Kart, and that was it. We're good for this generation. But then boom, Splatoon 3.
Have you screamed harder for a beginning trailer in your life? Because I was like, because we'll play the trailer again. I don't care. I saw it starting out. I'm like, okay, you got the landscape. Because I was expecting I'm like, okay, what kind of Nintendo game pop? What's in the desert? We all thought Breath of the Wild too.
Well,
deserts usually Goron City.
And then I saw this. I'm like, what? And then you see the customization. I'm like, Splatoon, and I was still not expecting a third sequel. I thought it would be like a single player adventure mode or something. Like,
Hmm.
hey, I could see a split, like a really fleshed out, not like tacked on with the multiplayer, like a fleshed out, like adventure
Well,
type of
I
thing.
still think they're going to have it in the beginning because I
Well,
don't
I mean,
think
each game
the
has one.
Inkling walking.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a real one though.
Oh,
Let's be
like,
fair.
yeah. Okay.
Like
Especially
something
with
that's
what's happening.
actually more than like going to little mini hubs.
Yeah.
Because I played a little bit of the first one, I didn't even bother
Yeah.
with the second one. I
Yeah.
knew
Look.
exactly
Yeah.
what I
Like
wanted.
this part right here. Yeah, I could see this. I could see this part of like a single player thing, and you go from
Yeah,
train
you're not
station.
going. You're not going to the main city like you did in the other two. There's something. I don't care.
I
It
would
could be
hope
four
so. Yeah,
hours.
they
I'll play
rendered
it.
all this. They got to be doing something with it, right?
Oh, I hope so. But it's just also so dynamic and different because for anybody who played the Splatoon games, it's basically Neon Tokyo, man. It's just these big little Splatfest is Neon Tokyo, it feels like that, but it's very vibrant and colorful, and it's in a city, it's not populous, and then of course it's near marinas and stuff like that. Now we're in a wasteland, and I remember like the first one's final Splatfest was kind of like, oh hey, giving the hint of what would lead into the sequel by what you chose. But
Hmm.
this one kind of came out of left field because I played the last couple of Splatfests, and they were just kind of redoing. It's like hot dog and ketchup or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That was
They're
like the weird
repeating
stuff.
them just to have them.
And now we just have a wasteland. Are we talking about like there's a fall? Is there something bigger than the Octolings and the Inklings as villains? Do we have new villains to go for? Are we gonna have new weaponry? Are
Yeah.
we gonna get vehicles? I think that would be kind of
Oh,
cool.
we're getting a
You
little
give me a
buddy.
Splat skateboard? We're
We're
getting a
getting.
little buddy. What it
Yeah.
does, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I encourage because it is a premier franchise. It has an esports league. It has a big fan base. I don't know how I passed law school because when I got the first one, within 3 months, I popped in 150 hours.
Oh
You and
yeah.
I played it. The
Mm-hmm.
second one didn't get as much love because I'm an adult, but that's still 70 hours plus a multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lot for a shooter base because don't look into the hours. Think about how many rounds played. I know you've surpassed like 200
Oh
plus.
yeah. Oh no, I played
It's
so
my
many rounds. Like
And
I.
I'm telling you now, Splatoon 2 is my favorite game on the Switch next to Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of Switch games, and it's still my favorite one besides Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. It's this is.
It-
I'm psyched. I really want to know what the buddies do. I I don't know if I hope there isn't a battle royale mode.
I was talking about it with my other friend. It kind of fits, but I don't need it because Battle
Yeah.
Royale's kind of died. It's gone now. It
I,
was
I
there for two
I don't
years.
see Nintendo. Yeah, that's the thing. That's what's happening right now too. Was Anthem a battle royale? Was that what?
No, Anthem was just kind of like that free for all make your mech, but it was the Call of
Okay.
Duties, and they
Yeah.
had Warzone. But
Yeah.
Warzone's populous, but it's more Call of Duty. If it was
Yeah.
any other game, I don't think there would be around,
Yeah.
because Battlefield tried and failed. Call of Duty made that into a component of Black Ops 4,
Yeah.
but it didn't really get them much anywhere. And then they just decided to make Warzone for free and just do the pay-in. But
Hmm.
there, it wouldn't work for Splatoon either because the Splatoon's an equivalent. It's more of equivalent to Overwatch, team-based objectives,
Yeah. That's true.
plain and simple. But I
Maybe
think they
some
can
new
have little
modes.
vehicles,
New modes. Yeah, vehicles. I could see that. I could see like
especially if you're
eight.
utilizing it. So bigger maps, because imagine this: you haven't played Battlefield, but you have Battlefield 3. You can have a conquest style map because you already do that with splat zones, and
Hmm.
you do that with just turf war. So conquest is a big capture of stuff. So if you're giving me it, you can make it into one zone. So instead of doing a battle royale, just have like a big conquest of things. And I would play the hell out of that
Yeah. Oh yeah.
because the matches themselves are short. So if you go from a 5 minute round to like a 10 minute round, I can get into it. I can dig it. And when people say, Charles Francisco, what do you love about the game? It really makes you think. You have to adapt your play style. F with me on Rainmaker any day. I hate
I'm looking
people
forward to
who
the freaking bow and arrow. I'm really
oh
looking
my
forward to
God,
the new
right?
weapon like that already. Like when I saw her carrying, I'm like, she's an archer. What? She's an archer, and like
Can we get
instantly,
swords?
instantly, like I was because I play like Warframe. Warframe is like a game that I play every few months where I get the itch to like pop in and play for like an hour and pop out.
Yeah,
But that's like a lifestyle game. You got to play that for like your life. You got to commit to that
yeah.
game because
It's a grind.
it's never ending. It's a never ending game. But I play as like an archer. And I'm like, oh, and I have the motion controls on the Switch version when I play that, and I'm like, oh, and I instantly thought of that. I'm like, oh, Oh, with the motion controls in Splatoon, I could I can't do the sniper. I can't do the sniper in Splatoon because
Yeah,
I
it's
suck
hard.
at it real hard. But
It takes
I
a lot.
if the archer is anything like Warframes, oh hell yeah. I will use the archer for sure. For sure.
I just want to see how decorative they get weapons because you have the roller and you have the ink brush, but now I kind of want to see this archaic kind of way too. It's like give me something. Like give me a paint filled sword. Give me a bow staff. Give me oh my god nunchucks. I'll
Some
take
more
that
melee
because
weapons. Yeah.
yeah, because you have to adapt and evolve. And the second one, it was almost a carbon copy, but not a
Give me
carbon
some
copy.
paint C4 planted on somebody
Yeah,
and just
I want to
let
see it
loose.
because if we're in a wasteland, I want post-apocalyptic
Yeah.
weaponry, right? Oh my God, could you imagine a mace with like a swinging mace with ink coming
Mm.
in? It just make it like a roller. I want ingenuity. I want vehicles. Damn it! I don't know how you can incorporate, but it could be done. Oh, I got it. I got something even better. Airstrikes.
I mean, we
Freaking
used to have it in
airstrikes.
Splatoon 1.
Well, they took it from us,
Yeah. We
and I
used to
want
have
it
it.
back.
There's some stuff in Splatoon 1, the freaking the killer whale, they took that out too. And that was a final
Yeah, and
smash in
that would be
Smash Bros.
perfect
I'm like, wow,
wasteland.
okay. There are some maps from the first one that I wish had moved on over that they didn't.
Yeah.
So I'm still waiting. Maybe they'll bring some of those back too, or I wouldn't mind even like buying them DLC or whatever. I don't care. I really
I'll pay DLC for
yeah
extra
yeah
maps
for some yeah for
for
some
because it's like a glove.
yeah
It's literally like a glove. You just know. Oh, you got Mariana Trench. Mariana Marina, baby.
yeah
Going from there, whatever the hell it's called.
yeah the museum.
Super
I like the
excited for
museum.
it.
That didn't make it over. I'm like, oh man, that was a good one. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Give me a real story, and then
I want some
I
more
don't know if
maps
I
that
want.
are more vertical. I would say not like
Yeah.
freaking Moray Towers, whatever, but things
Yeah.
that
Well,
play
Mori
more.
Towers you need for tower control though.
Yeah,
That is the Seminole Tower control map.
yeah, but things that like play with
How
verticality more,
how
maybe
do you feel about the new launch points?
from the air that they're doing.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that works.
I'm,
Maybe that avoids like you actually having to defend your own zone and you just focus on the map itself. But I'm not sure. I don't know how they're gonna play with that. Maybe it's a map by map thing. Cause
I would also take a deathmatch component
mm-hmm.
because the only thing they added was Clan Blitz in the second one, and I'm very lukewarm on Clan Blitz. I like it when we're winning, I hate it when we're losing because
Yeah,
part of it feels a little cheap.
yeah. It's
Not my
almost like you
favorite
can't
mode.
win at a certain point when you're just so down. Yeah,
Yeah, because it's like you want parity. Like tower control, I know I'm always in. Rainmaker, I know is a splat
mm-hmm.
zone. It depends. Single splat zone, I feel good about it. Double splat zone, it really depends on your teammates.
Yeah.
And Splatoon, you never should have to win if it's just you doing all the work.
Yeah,
That really is
aside from
just he gets it.
Turf War is the only one where you can literally
Yeah,
make your team win.
but
Like
it's not even ranked.
you can
So
pull a Kobe and just be like, yeah, I'm just gonna win
yeah,
this for everybody.
turf
I'll put
war
up
is
1,600 points
your
and win.
yeah turf war is your tune up.
Yeah,
It's what you get into it, or if you just want to like get some mindless stuff there, because really you're just doing
yeah,
it for the grind to get your
yeah. Or
stuff.
you practice
You know,
your like other weapon types and stuff.
yeah. But
Yeah, I want to
I'm
be a
super
sniper. Let's see how this
excited.
works.
Yeah, super excited. Loved it because I did not expect it. Because I know 2 sold well.
I
It was
was
essentially a launch
I was
title.
surprised. I was thinking. I honestly like because I know they're making Pikmin 4. I know
Yeah.
that was talked about. I know Metroid Prime 4 is being made, and we know Zelda 2 or Breath of the Wild 2 is coming out. But I didn't expect Splatoon. I was thinking like, okay, we haven't heard about a Star Fox. Like I could see Star Fox Zero being thrown out there as the last of the Wii U games that hasn't been moved on over. 'Cause
Dr. Mario would also take.
I'm surprised. Yeah, that's like a downloadable thing. I'm sure they I'm sure they'll make something like that soon. But
Yeah,
yeah,
this is
I
the
was
way they did
surprised.
with Super
I
Mario
was expecting
35.
Star Fox to be honest. Eight or
Yeah,
because I could see because I didn't play Star Fox Zero. I know you played it, but
I did. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The gyro controls were kind of weird, but
I'm sure they could find a
it,
way to kind of retrofit that to the Switch. Get rid of the gamepad stuff and just like, okay, it's a Star Fox game. or maybe a multiplayer aspect, co-op, somebody controls, whatever. I don't know. At that point, might as well make a new Star Fox, to be honest.
I would be in agreement. Side note, I think Andrew's here from my notifications. He's
Really?
just being creepy and
Is he
hearing us
popping
in
in?
the background.
I'm not sure.
I checked my phone and it said Andrew joined a call.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe he's been here the whole time,
Yeah.
watching us, making sure that we're not going to get sued.
So they're talking about video games? Okay. Well, no, the FTC's not on us next week. Next week's when they come after us. So
You see, we got the moral mama joining in from us. I don't know if he's here now or he backed out. He's like, oh crap, they're near the end of it.
Yeah. So okay, let's wrap it up. So yeah, those are the games, and then Pyra Mithra for Smash, which I was like,
yeah,
yeah, like okay.
they've dropped the ball. They had so much potential when they first announced the fighter collections, and I have not spent a single dollar. And the only one,
Sephiroth is the only one you got, I think.
I didn't even get him. I got Piranha Plant or Piranha Pete because it was free.
Yeah.
Like I would get Sephiroth, but I'm not paying $5 for them.
I love Steve. Steve, I've already mained that one. I love that one. Yeah, I'm not liking this one, but I know Nintendo just does it to get the sales up. So it's like, hey, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, because they remade the first one, and Shulk's already a character. So I'm like, okay, they're just gonna try and get the sales up. That's the reason Byleth was in the game, to get sales of Fire Emblem up. So I still think, and I still feel we're gonna get Master Chief at the end. I feel like that would coincide with E3. Like, however they're gonna do E3 this year, virtually, whatever, because I think Microsoft still does it. And like Halo Infinite getting like I don't know if they set a release date or maybe like an actual definitive release date. Like they have like a trailer.
Everybody's like quit from
Halo Infinite, like hey, coming out on PC, whatever. And then like in the Microsoft conference, you see like, you know, it cuts to like a Smash announcement, like oh, and it has a trailer for that. So I could see that happening.
They'll just play
they're buddies. The two companies are buddies.
Nintendo's going to the cloud gaming. You can get Game Pass, somehow make it work, and it's something that could be there. You just need the instant internet and hope to God that you have the highest speed stuff. I was thinking about the other day, you know who I want because they're in relation to Sega? If you gave me Earthworm Jim, who I think would fit so well in the Smash world.
He's not a Sega character. He's somebody else. I don't know who owns him now, but somebody else owns him. He's not a Sega character.
They had the properties for him. Damn.
Yeah.
Well, I love me some Reform Jim.
Yeah.
For some reason, that's the one game I can't.
You know what's this game series I really want to get into, but I just haven't. Like, have you played a Yakuza game?
Yeah, I have.
Are they are like I know they're RPGs, right? They're like
beat 'em up brawler RPG. They're like beat 'em up brawler RPGs where you can do some weird stuff on the side, and they just released like a dragon, which is
there enough weird stuff? Because like I'm really just
you would love it. You would love it.
Like if I'm really interested in like the weird stuff, because you know if I see it like No More Heroes type of thing. Like I want some of that weird absurdist stuff.
I think the way I could do justice, and this is just me touching upon playing.
I know it takes. I know it takes a lot of hours from what I've heard. It's like there's a lot to do. Especially think of it as a Japanese mob soap opera. I've heard it's basically a Japan simulator.
yeah. You do some dancing. You go out with your boys.
Yeah.
You know, if you can get it, I'm certain that with your PC you can get them for cheap.
Oh, they're on. Let's see. Hold on. Let's look this up before we go to the cage. This is the last thing. I just wanted to look it up. I think
if you want to know more about our gaming efforts, follow Francisco on his streaming, FJOJR on his own Twitch account.
Yeah, that's what I do. I think Andrew also streams every once in a while, like a long while, but he has his PS4. You don't stream on your PS4 though. I know that.
No, I would literally probably break under pressure with the stress.
Really? Well,
I would just cry.
Aside from Russians that hate me when I stream, but aside from that, I'm good with people.
Francisco, I have difficulty with technology. Like I spent an hour trying to compress things into a zip file that I had to spend for that audit. I couldn't even imagine what would happen if I had some kind of glitch because I'm not patient like that. Like as an adult, I learned to be patient. And when it comes to technology, I had Adobe freezing freezing up on something
Okay.
when I was applying redactions, and then I almost flung my laptop. So that's why I couldn't stream.
Okay, so they do have Yakuza on freaking just put in a random birth date there on Steam. It's on sale, 33% off. But I think I'll wait for something to be lower. Or actually, I know. Okay, no.
What is 33% of its price?
Let's see. Oh well, only for 3 games in the series: the third, fourth, and fifth one. So I don't know if it's one of those games where you have to play all of them, but I don't know.
I think you have to do with Kiwami because Kiwami is like
Here's
the
a
remastered
yeah,
startup.
yeah. Kuza Kiwami's on, but it's not part of this pack right here. So I guess they do have most of the games in the series. Yakuza Zero. Okay, so I think most of the games are on PC, and I guess I could watch whatever is missing on YouTube just to get the storyline.
Yeah, but that's the thing. There's some games that are cinematic experience, so that's why you just watch them. Sometimes you want that weird, goofy stuff. Like I always want to play like the Persona games, but I don't have 100 hours to give in. And
Oh,
I
I
don't hate
can't.
JRPGs. I don't hate JRPGs.
It
I
just took
hate the
forever.
amount of time in a
Yeah,
JRPG.
that's the thing. That's the only thing that's keeping me away from some of them. It's like I like Tales. I like the Tales series, but I've only played
Yeah.
one. I've only played two of the games in the series, and I know that I, at this point in my life, cannot do them. I like I am trying to get through MGS5 right now, and that's not even an RPG. It has some elements sort of like that. You got to build up a lot of stuff now that I've got, but I can't do that. All right.
You
Oh,
can't ruin perfection.
all right. Let's go. Let's do it. We've spent
Let's do
enough
it.
here.
Welcome everybody to your weekly Truplex, the Cage with Charles, or is it the Chamber with Charles? Now, full disclosure, and we know wrestling is not fake, Francisco. It is scripted. It is a stage fight, big fight feel. It's a story about men and women being the holy hell of each other, chasing championships, chasing titles, chasing glory, just beating the hell out of people they don't like because they want to make a name for themselves and look at a legacy. Maybe you do a little bit of the finger pointing, go into WrestleMania. That's the shorter bridge of things because I usually would say boys, but Andrew's not here, so it doesn't sound proper. I don't want to call you boy because maybe that sounds a little bit wrong. But
Oh gosh.
people of the world, we had a pay-per-view this weekend. We had a lot of pay-per-views in the last couple of weeks. I'm kind of like pay-per-view fatigue because I take 3.5 hours of my time to watch these things, or 2.5, depending on who it is. We had Elimination Chamber, and we're going to focus more on that because nothing really going on in the world. Like New Japan, Hiromu Takahashi, he's injured. The Japanese pimp's hurt. I'm very sad. He is your junior heavyweight champion. He was supposed to challenge um, for the tag team champions with Bushi against El Fantasmo and is it Taichi? Yeah, there's so many. Sometimes I have to go into it, but now that's gonna be changed up a little bit. But that's the thing about wrestling, card subject to change. Nothing else really big that would go on for New Japan yet. Let's wait till AEW happens. I believe, speaking of New Japan, this weekend should be John Moxley versus Kenta for the IGWP or IWGP US Championship. So we're gonna see what happens there. You know, there was a cross blend that was going on over in did Andrew message us? He goes, "How was the start of the show?" Well, we'll get to you, Andrew, when you come in. I'll let you jump into the cage like an unsuspected money casher. Ooh, is that a spoiler? Let's see some foreshadowing. Um, AEW Dynamite's happening. I'll probably watch it this weekend. I don't really recall what happened last week. It was just kind of meh in between because, as you know, they're still doing the cross branding of Impact, AEW, and New Japan, and a little bit of NWA. Not very big on it. Why? Because there's going to be some people that are pushed down. What I will say about AEW from the last time we spoke about the romance between Adam Hangman Page and the Dark Order has been chef's kiss. As you know, he's kind of now in a feud with Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy, the other Hardy brother, Jeff Silver in WWE. Well, he's now Big Money Matt or Money Matt trying to get all the cash. He's teaming up with Private Party and he's trying to get Hangman Page to be with him, and it wasn't happening. So the contract that they had, it wasn't for a tag team, it's for him to have a match at Revolution, which I think is a week and a half from now. So that will be the next week will be the AEW episode that we talk about. But basically, Matt Hardy, they're gonna have a money match. Whoever wins gets their financials for that quarter. Really feels like an '80s match, which I like because that's what they used to do. You used to fight for the purse, the whole thing, the $10,000, because you need some incentive, and money should always be an incentive. It's what pushes us, right? But Matt Hardy, TH2, part of Private Party, which I think is Isaiah, was beating down Hangman Page, and out came the Dark Order with is that Andrew Facebooking us? No, it's you.
Yeah, I'm just answering back.
Going into and having the Dark Order come out and help Hangman Page because your boys support you. Anna Jay, we love you, Anna, but she's hurt. She hurt her shoulder. She's 99 because everybody's given a numeric number in the Dark Order, but she's injured. She's gonna be out of the women's tournament. They're doing a tournament for contending with Hikaru Shida over in both the U.S. and in Japan. Whoever wins in the women's tournament gets a shot at Hikaru. So we'll see what happens there. Or Hikaru Shida. I can never say it properly. I suck at names sometimes. I suck at my own name, guys. It's part of the business. The slow burn between the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega is taking too damn long. They were getting beat down by Jericho and MJF, and then the Good Brothers took forever to come out and help them. And so Kenny, the writing is on the wall. This is what I hate about wrestling. I understand that you have some stories to tell. I don't need you to take freaking forever. You can make it more interesting when you have the Young Bucks be like super kicking everybody. But it be how it be, right? And I can't control it. Let's go to WWE because that's really where the bread and butter is. A lot of stuff happens in Elimination Chamber. Holy crap. I don't know if I was right. I don't know if I was wrong. My mind was a little bit blown. It was a B- pay-per-view. It could have been a C, but certain things happened. They started with the SmackDown Men's Elimination Chamber match. Remember, whoever won was going to be challenging Roman later that night for the Universal title. They changed it up a little bit, and they had to face Roman immediately afterwards. And this was the match I was looking most forward to. And I got to tell you, Francisco, I was big disappointed because for 6 men in a pod, where you have all those steel chains and the pods, and it called for a recipe of destruction, I would say it was more of a disaster. It was more of a wrestling match. Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, they started out, and they were near the end.
So
Daniel Bryan won the match. Yeah, and mind you, part of it is because you had 2 chamber matches. The men's Raw match was later that night as the main event, but you still want something. It felt like a wrestling match. It was good. If I had to give a rating a la Meltzer, I would give it 3.5 and nothing higher. But it wasn't really the most compelling. There wasn't any really new feuds that kind of came of it. Baron Corbin was the first eliminated in that one, which was surprising. I wasn't expecting him to be in the finals, but I was still expecting something more to come of it. Jey Uso and Kevin Owens were the only ones that kind of made something of it because they were talking some smack because Jey Uso, I believe, was the last one who got out of the pod. And so you have Owens who's in there just staring him down. And the minute that pod opened, he went to go beat up that. I was like, I love it because you need blood feuds. But it felt more like 6 men technically wrestling. Everybody looked good, but it felt like it was just a little unexceptional. Cesaro looked great, but it was a false push, as I told everybody. And now he's going to go off the feud with Seth, and whether or not it's going to lead to Mania, I don't know. I think it's going to be Bryan and Seth at Mania, and Cesaro's just going to be in a multi-man Intercontinental title match. Hopefully it's a ladder match at Mania. I would like that. But it didn't necessarily accomplish what we're going for. And Cesaro, if you can hear me right now, I love you. You are one of the best wrestlers out there in the world.
Grades here for what people thought of it.
I wasn't in love with that particular match. The pay-per-view I thought was a B-.
This one, but getting over a wrestling podcast, they had a poll here. They had most of their listeners gave it a B, half of them at least. You got some A's, some C's, and some people got the 6%.
Well,
D to F there. I don't know.
We're going to get to that, and it's something involving an A-lister. But I think all the matches were technically sound. The triple threat match was probably the best match of the night. Bobby Lashley, John Morrison, Matt Riddle. So originally it was not supposed to be John Morrison. It was supposed to be Keith Lee, but he was out with injury. This is bad because he's a newer talent on the main roster. He keeps getting injured. Vince ain't going to push you anymore. Charles has big concern. But it was a good last-minute replacement with John Morrison. It was good ebbing and flowing, a good little difference of styles. Bobby Lashley looked very angry. He reminds me of the Vine of the angry black kid when he's just shouting all the time because Bobby just wants to murder you, and I love it. And I hope he becomes WWE champion and gets his WrestleMania win. We're going to talk about that in a second. Matt Riddle ends up winning the U.S. title. Good on him. It allows him to be where he's at top of the mid card. It allows Bobby to elevate to the main event, and Morrison had his time in the sun, maybe creates a new feud. The women's tag team wasn't bad. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus whoever the hell they fought, Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. We knew that wasn't really going to be much of anything because Bianca won the Royal Rumble. Sasha is the Women's SmackDown champion. It's really just to see how they mesh, but the match was structurally, technically sound. I enjoyed it for what it was. And then we got the men's Elimination Chamber match. Raw, same rules, 6 people entering to it. Last one wins the WWE Championship. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped something because I didn't even care about that much. I'm sorry. Forgive me. How dare I ruin it? So we talked about the SmackDown match. We said the winner was going to go and face Roman immediately. Daniel Bryan won, who was one of the first guys in. He gets like destroyed by Roman. Roman chokes him out. Bryan's like selling his knee injury. But what, and I wish Andrew was here for it. So what happened at that match? Edge comes out and spears Roman straight up. And he says, I'm getting you at WrestleMania. I am so ready for it. Because the match itself probably might not be good, but the storytelling is going to be chef's kiss. You have 2 guys who are probably same side or different sides of the same coin. They do the spear as a finisher, that's one thing. But they both never lost the titles because Edge had to retire as WWE champ or World Heavyweight Champion. It was a different title back then because of neck injuries. Roman had to vacate his title because of cancer. So now he got the Universal Championship back, but they weren't awarded it. They had to go and get it to a degree. So you can build on that story. Face of the franchise in the present versus face of the franchise in the past. Head of the table, head of the table. And also you can bring in Christian for Edge and Christian and even Kevin Owens to help out Christian, fellow Canadians versus the Bloodline. That is the Usos when Jimmy comes back and Roman Reigns. Big excitement. How dare I forget about it? But it wasn't really a match in my mind. Like it was literally like 3 minutes where Roman just chokes out Daniel Bryan because we know we're going to get that eventually. I don't think Roman loses to Edge. I think it's a bad idea to have that happen for sentimentality to kick in, tug out our heartstrings. I think it's better to have Roman get the ultimate heat by killing Edge and how the crowd really hates him. You got to build that storyline. You got to build it like coal into a fire, into the furnace to have the smoke come out. Men's Elimination Chamber match. Drew McIntyre was defending against Jeff Hardy, AJ Styles, Sheamus, everybody else in between that was kind of there. I don't remember, right? The match itself was very good. I liked it. It ended up with AJ and Drew as the last 2 people there. I thought it was going to be Sheamus and Randy Orton was there, Kofi Kingston. I sent you the can we talk about how funny Kofi is, though, by the way? I would break character.
That
when
was
about,
funny.
Like, look at your thighs. Look at your thighs. You're working out. And what I liked about this chamber match versus the other chamber match.
Because if he was insulting him, but it's like he's complimenting him, and it's like, oh my God. It's almost ridiculous.
You've been doing them squats? You got a peach going on there. You slithering all. He's like, God damn, you slithering up in here. But what I enjoyed so much about that Raw chamber match was everybody had history with each other. They all had feuded. Sheamus and Jeff Hardy had feuded a couple months back, and they ended in a barroom brawl because they were attacking Jeff's alcoholism in the past and his drug use. You had AJ and Drew who had wrestled each other at the prior TLC in December, and which Drew retained. And Miz had cashed in, but it wasn't really cash in because he wasn't the one that cashed in the briefcase. You had Kofi and Randy who have history. When Kofi was WWE champion, Randy tried to take it from him. Randy took the title off of Drew. It was all good stuff, and they didn't even bring in the Fiend in this one. That's why I was shocked. But it came down to AJ and Drew, and I was like, my buddy texted me. He's like, Charles. I'm like, oh my God, is someone not going to win, or someone not named Drew McIntyre going to win? Because I'm excited because I have not been happy with Drew McIntyre as champion. It has been vanilla. I haven't been into it. The quality of challengers has been so poor, so bad. And I don't like the fact that he's held the title twice within a year span, because what does that say about you as a champion to hold it that amount of time? And then the second run that you have is just even worse. He had to wrestle Goldberg. I'm sorry. That's terrible. But the match ending was great because AJ goes for the phenomenal forearm, which is a springboard flying forearm, and he gets caught with a Claymore kick, and it was beautiful. And I'm like, oh boy, are we going to get something weird happening? Because usually they'll just go straight to the ending, but Drew's going around. He's raising his arm. You're looking like he's going to cry. And I'm like, is Miz going to cash in? Because remember, Miz got the Money in the Bank contract off of Otis from their SummerSlam match, I believe. where Tucker betrayed him, and of course they did nothing with that. Now Otis is a bad guy. We'll talk about that in the next cage because I want to see how they develop it out. Because there's a difference between I'm frustrated and I want to beat somebody up versus full blown heel turn. We can't call it that exactly. But Bobby Lashley, the man who just lost his U.S. title, comes out, beats the hell out of Drew. Mind you, him and Bobby wrestled each other at it wasn't Extreme Rules, but it was the pay-per-view after that. There's just too many. Was it Backlash? I'm not certain. But they had wrestled and Bobby had lost to Drew. But then Bobby was just so angry, so pissed off, bringing down Drew. And then you heard the Miz music come in and he successfully cashed in the Money in the Bank contract. And I was just like Stone, very hard because it was good. You need that switch up. Almost 12 months, Drew held that title. Even if you count the Randy, because when Randy beat him Hell in a Cell, he only had it for about 3 weeks, and then Drew beat him again on a Raw. You have to get new blood in there. And everybody hated Miz winning it, and I loved it because he's a heel. He's supposed to do dastardly things. He was so talking to MVP. Show him talking to MVP about it, about helping him. And I'm like, yes, because you and I both know The Miz is not going to be WWE champion for a year. It's going to be a transitional position where he's going to be a placeholder for possibly Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley looks like a heavyweight champion. He looks like he will destroy you. And you know what? You need the new blood. You need to give it a chance because he's been doing some great work for the Hurt Business. I don't know if there's anybody who has had a better year booking than Lashley did. He's been booked better than Drew McIntyre. I think I said about it last show. I am loving it. Ba, 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 ba. I'm loving it. And so I'm hoping, and here's the thing, Miz doesn't have to drop it next week. Him and Bobby Lashley are going to go against each other next week because Bobby had a solidified main event win against Braun Strowman, the former Universal Champion, technically, or 2 Universal Champions if you count Fiend's like 6-day run. But it was good enough for it. So if this lets Bobby have the title, and him versus Drew at Mania is perfectly fine. They had wrestled before. They used to be boys. You can cap it off. But please, for the love of God, Vince, do not give me Drew McIntyre winning that belt one more time at Mania because he never got the chance to defend it in front of a live crowd. Drew is 34 years old. He probably has about 6 years left in his wrestling career before he has to hang him up if he wants to. You can give him the opportunity that you wanted to give him this first run to make him a made guy. But to have a belt 3 times, the same title, 3 times within 1 calendar year, it's sloppy booking. It doesn't make me believe that you're actually a credible challenger because there's a difference between a guy who holds a title for a bit and is just taken away out of the story for a main event to go to a blood feud or gets injured or has a fake injury. But for a guy who loses, always comes back in, loses, always comes back in, it creates a hot potato situation, and it begs to ask the question, why shouldn't the person who lost the title get another title opportunity again? So it prolongs feuds unnecessarily. Because why isn't Randy Orton has been able to challenge Drew again for the title that he lost, right? Why isn't it that Miz, if he loses in a transitional position against Drew, let's say if that, God forbid, that's the plan. But Miz should be wrestling Bad Bunny. We already know this. I told you about that 3 weeks ago. But just for example's sakes, do automatic rematches. You better do it with the idea that you can solidify a feud and make it worthy. But if you do this kind of little weird hot potato just to give Drew a moment, he's had not 1 but 2 moments. It's not our fault as the viewers that we should suffer Drew McIntyre one more time as champion because you don't know how to book him properly. I had no problem with Drew on his first run. He went through Bobby Lashley. He went through Dolph Ziggler. He went through Big Show. Went to Randy and he beat Randy at SummerSlam. But when he got it the second time, 3 weeks out, he wrestled Roman at Survivor Series in a non-title match because it was champion versus champion, and he lost. Okay. But then who did he have to kind of build with? AJ in a TLC match that was very good, but Miz had cashed in, so it was to protect both guys when you think about it. And then he got Goldberg. So he's just getting matches now. He's not getting the storyline. And sometimes you have to think of wrestling, what we call a stage fight, Francisco, is you have to think of it as a little bit UFC and a little bit boxing. UFC, to me, is more entertaining building into the story, especially if you're someone like Conor McGregor, if you have a lot of the heavyweights, Daniel Jones, even the old days of, is it Daniel Jones? No, I'm thinking, you know what I'm talking about. I don't really follow much of UFC for the heavyweight stuff.
Yeah.
But what's his name? Daniel Cormier. I'm sorry. Daniel, I'm thinking John Jones, John Bone Jones. So I just merged everybody into one. But then when you're looking into boxing, boxing doesn't have the talkers. Boxing just has, if you talk about good old olden day boxing, it has the fighters, man. When you're Oscar De La Hoya's, Manny Pacquiao's, Fury Leonard's, Mike Tyson's, all these guys that kind of come into it. So you need it to kind of perform properly. But if the feud kind of goes, the matches could be fine. But if the storytelling is trash, no one's going to want to buy your pay per view vibes, right? It ain't going to happen. So why don't you wait? Let the main event card kind of figure out who it's going to be. Miz, I'm very happy for him because he was a WWE champion 10 years ago. So this is just another little belt. He's the first two-time Grand Slam champion, meaning he's held all the individual titles multiple times on a straight through. Um, very big on it. And we know he's going to get Bad Bunny with Damian Priest versus him and John Morrison as a tag team. And that's fine because what's WWE? World Wrestling Entertainment. Sometimes it's the W, sometimes it's the E. And I trust Miz enough to actually put on a good match and put people over, like Bad Bunny. I was very sports entertained a couple of years ago when it was Kurt Angle, who is basically retired, and Ronda Rousey versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. It should be good. But there are people who are crying for Drew to win it. But why not Bobby? Bring up Bobby Lashley. You look at that man. Why can't you believably see him as a WWE main event heavyweight champion? You got to give it to the new blood. Because if you rotate it, you're going to have the John Cena situation, where Cena's a 16-time champion because you had no one else to do. And if you were a 16-time champion, that means you lost it 16 times, right? That's how I feel about Drew. But I'm excited for the prospect because I woke up, man, and it felt like the day I got out of the bar exam when I woke up Monday, right? When I woke up this Monday, it's the same way I felt about after taking the bar exam. I woke up, this is how Andrew's going to feel tomorrow. This is how I'm going to end up bringing it all together. I saw this light. I heard birds chirping. I heard music. It's like literally I came out of snow freaking white because Drew McIntyre was no longer my champion. And I'll take it for as many days as I can before he gets it. And I hope he does get it again. Where he's not given just great, I don't know if I can say he gave me great matches, but good matches, but no good feuds. Let him get his opportunity. But let Bobby Lashley get his opportunity. Because that man, he's just basically like Broly. He's just so angry that he just wants to kill everybody. And that's all I got for you this week on the Cage.
All right. Okay. A couple things I forgot that we didn't cover. Gottlieb's Goons. Just want to get this one out. Kevin Mather. Formerly of the Seattle Mariners. He was their team president or whatever. So he said many comments at a Rotary. What the hell is a Rotary Club? I just think of it like a rotary phone. I think it's one of those those old man groups. I'm not even sure. I'm not sure what it is. But regardless, he was at one of those, and he said a lot of comments about foreign players, both from Asia and Latin America, Japanese, whatever, and how that why don't those darn people learn English, or they suck at English, or they all kinds of things with regards to that. Which is no bueno if you're trying to entice players, especially those foreign players who are highly talented, to come
especially when you have the most famous international baseball player ever to play in the game.
Yeah, and
with Ichiro.
Yeah, and Ken Griffey Jr. as well.
Yep.
And then who's currently an ambassador to the game now, working for Major League Baseball. You're not going to entice players to go to Seattle, which is one of those places that are notoriously hard to get people to go to, because players have wanted out from Seattle in the past, including your best player of all time in Ken Griffey Jr. he abruptly retired because he just wanted to go home to Florida to live with his family and stuff, and too far away in Seattle. Yeah, and you're a franchise that is notoriously bad. So you're a goon. And we'll see. Well, he's gone now. He is gone abruptly. but
But
Mariners have had.
do these guys have no filter, or is the fact that they thought with their
I just
privilege that they could just do what they
I
want?
just don't understand how you can work in baseball and in baseball in 2021 and not not I don't know, be slightly more progressive. I mean, gosh darn it, man. Jackie Robinson was back in 1947. You know, Roberto Clemente, he had to deal with people talking about how he spoke English and things like that. But man, it's been years and years now, and yeah, players can get on. Fellow Hispanics can also get on each other for their English. I've heard players that Latin players that get on each other for the way they speak English, but it's like in a joking way, and of course they're teammates and things like that. But this guy did not say it in that manner, and was basically one of those guys who's like, why don't they just learn English and things? I'm like, who cares? Who cares? Why? You should be more worried about why the hell the Mariners can't get their shit together.
Well, they can't get
As
it
a
together because
franchise.
he's there.
Gosh, man.
How embarrassing must you feel as an owner? Because at the end of the day, what's the worst thing to have? The
Yeah.
worst kind of publicity? Bad publicity. And there's nothing
It,
more bad because in the States,
sure,
the
Nintendo's
baseball
pretty
is a dying
happy that they're
sport
not the full owners anymore.
whatsoever. But baseball is kind of a dying sport in the love of Americana, but it's something that's very loved internationally. And so that's why you want to get prospects and players. And you have somebody who says that
Baseball.
I don't think players necessarily want to deal with it.
Baseball desperately needs people to like it too. At
Yeah.
this point, they really do. They really need as many people, and they really should go more international at this point. Yeah, go harp on the Asian countries and Japan, which is their national sport. Korea too, and Latin America. Go hard on those. But yeah, no, this guy needs to get out of the sport now. All right, if you're thinking that in 2021, and you've been in baseball, I'm sure he's been in baseball a while at least, or at least in sports.
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes team presidents don't really have to be in the sport; they just have to be good businessmen. But yeah, I don't know what his background is. I'm not sure. I didn't bother to look it up. I don't know if he's been in baseball or if he's just a business guy that came to baseball. But regardless, yeah, get out, get the f out. All right. So yeah, that's our Gottlieb Kuhn. I just want to get that out of the way because I didn't want to roll over. By that point, it'd be old news to next week. So
Yeah.
all right,
Don't be a mate.
yeah, don't be that. So that's it, everybody. We're done here. We're gonna come back next week with number 95, and I promise you we will be even more prepared for that one. Andrew will be back too, so I'm sure he'll have a lot of pent up sports stuff that he wants to talk about. So that'll
Will
be
there
good.
be less cursing? We don't know because this man's going to be coming in like the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah,
Not
well,
only did he have to endure the bar exam, he had to endure us
yeah.
attacking his namesake.
Oh yeah, he'll have something. He'll have something good. So yeah, that's it, folks. That's all I got. Check us out on everything else, Twitters, and our TikTok does pretty well. Actually, I need to post more on TikTok. I need to get hip with the fellow kids out there. All right. Bye, everybody.
Take care.